I do want to respond to this.
It's Reels and Heels. I am your host, Willow Schuyler. With me, as always, is, today is just Nicole. Brian is out gallivanting with friends.
No, he's wrangling children this time. So
ooh, okay. He gets to be the parent today.
One day, just
one of these days he'll have to do the house cleaning in an apron.
Well, I was surprised. Like I told him, I said the house is a disaster. I said you really have to help me out here because I tutored this morning. So he was like, I walked in and he's like, the dishes are done.
So
the kitchen is clean. And the floor is vacuumed. Oh, and I cleaned the cage too. And I went, okay. But the table's still a mess. And he went, if it had been me, it would be done.
We need to roll out the parade when they started doing housework, right?
Well, my favorite is like they want some sort of medal. It's like, it's done. And I was like, oh.
Congratulations, you get a no prize.
Good for you. What did Michelle Tanner used to say? Pin a rose on your nose.
Carl, good use for him.
I'm telling you.
All right, so we have my favorite part of doing these podcasts is just throwing a bunch of strangers in the same room and seeing what kind of topics.
No, wait a minute. We're not strangers. We all know each other. We're just strange.
We're just strange.
Okay.
There's a whole song about that.
Now wait a minute. Before we went on the air, Ryan and I were talking about something. Omar said he wanted to comment on it. So what was it that you wanted to say?
Well, you had asked what superpowers are you getting after the vaccines? And I was like, well, now that I think about it, if I could choose one, it'd be like elasticity. But knowing my luck, I'll probably end up being like Beak from the X-Men, where I'm just like a weird bird person with no powers at all.
I figure it's all like in Deadpool. It's kind of all random. And we're all gonna have to get beat on or something to get our superpowers,
Yep. And then there's me. Like I have the stupidest power ever. Like I mess with electronics, something fierce, and like I can walk into a room. I can walk into a store, and their debit machine will just suddenly go down.
Oh, you have that power too. My wife has that too.
I'll walk out and it'll start working again.
My wife will take her cell phone, can't get it to do anything. I just take it in my hand and hit the button, and it works fine. It's electronics, okay? So she has that power too.
In some fictional universes, that means that you're a witch.
I do live near Salem, Mass. So,
Like, I don't know how many Jim Butcher fans are out there, but, Dresden Files is predicated on that. Like, he just can't make technology work.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's a problem too.
Yeah. But oddly enough, I'm the only one who can set the timer on anything.
Oh, wait a minute. So your VCR isn't blinking 12, is it?
No.
Okay, good.
When I first started working at the Starbucks where I'm at right now, their cameras had was so off with time and date. I'm just like, this is bothering me. Why haven't you guys figured this out yet? So I'm just pressing buttons. I'm like, there. I fixed it.
So I wanted to address something Ryan has said to me constantly about how I'm ancient. Okay.
Yeah.
So my wife did something to make me feel incredibly old, Ryan. Just so you know.
Okay.
No.
No.
Oh. I'm like, wait a minute, where's this going? Yeah, great visual
I am now
aid. I
old.
love that.
I am
That's great.
officially old.
Congratulations. You're in the 700 years old club. There you go.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
So,
But did you get your insurance from Trebek before he died?
I'm still employed, so I don't have to worry about that right now.
R.I.P. Alex Trebek.
Yeah. So,
yeah. Congrats, Jerome. So happy for you. More plastic in the wallet. It's great.
Yeah. No. I see. Remember, Gwendolyn is 8 years old.
Yes.
I can't really retire until I'm 70. Okay, then she'll be in and out of college.
No, that's true. That's
All
true.
right, so
it's very true. It's a good.
Daddy's got to put the little girl through college.
Has she been watching?
Years.
Has she been watching all the reruns of your favorite '80s animated series?
I can't get her to watch TV with me. She's hooked on video game run-throughs on YouTube.
Oh wow!
She watches Among Us.
Oh, okay.
We played that on Nerd Culture. Plug.
Yeah. She's really hooked on that. And then she's hooked on some Nickelodeon stuff, Paw Patrol and PJ Masks.
Any
My
Minecraft?
house looks like she loves Minecraft, and I don't know. I think my wife put Minecraft on one of the tablets.
There you go.
I know.
I think that's pretty much every kid right now is like
Minecraft.
Okay, Jerome. Here's a question for you. Has she ever left the room and you continue to sit there and watch either PJ Masks or Paw Patrol?
Yes.
And for no good reason. Like you have no idea why you're still watching it.
Yes. Especially PJ Masks.
I'm like, wait, where'd
go? Gwen.
Why is Rubble on the TV? What is going on?
And now she's gotten hooked on what's that girl from France that's dressed up like a ladybug.
What's that one?
Yes,
we know that one.
Called Ladybug, actually.
Yeah. Oh
Ladybug.
my God. Oh, it's watching. Is it kids that are just coming through puberty, having superpowers, and now having problems with dating with each other in France? And I'm just kind of going, yeah, this is a little more than I really want my daughter seeing at the moment.
Now,
it's like an alternate version of Sky High.
Do you guys ever want to just show them shows that you used to watch as kids, like Pee-wee's Playhouse?
Oh
no, it doesn't work out. It never works out the way you want it to.
So I've let my daughter watch Scooby-Doo.
Oh, okay.
Right. She's watched the original, and so hence that helped actually with her being afraid at night of the dark. Because when we talk about monsters, she's I remind her in Scooby, there's no such thing in monsters. It's just some creepy guy wearing a mask.
You darn
and
kids,
exactly. But
it should be just as scary if you really think about it. There's a monster in my room. I sure as hell don't want it to be a creepy
there's
guy.
real monsters in that Scooby-Doo mini movie, The Reluctant Werewolf.
Right. So. But my point is it calmed her down. Oh. So she was able to deal with the, monster under your bed thing, whatever.
Fair enough.
So she's watched that. I've gotten her to watch Justice League, the animated.
Okay.
Yes.
Nice. And she wants to be Batgirl.
Nice.
Oh, okay. And then she's seen a number of the MCU mom and dad are watching. She catches clips. She also wants to be Black Widow.
Okay.
Remember, with her red hair, she's ready to go.
Yeah, Natasha Romanoff has a clone.
Yeah. She's ready to be Natasha. Trust me. So any of the redheaded female heroes, she's ready to be. Okay, so I've got her watching superheroes.
Beautiful.
She does watch the Star Trek animated show with me.
Oh,
so daddy's influencing her there.
Which the newest one or the
the original Filmation 1972. Come on, good stuff.
Remember, Omar, we're too young for this stuff.
Yeah. I'm to be honest, I really am not ready for her to see the Rick and Morty style humor.
Right.
I'm too young.
That makes a whole lot of sense.
I'm too young for the Star Trek thing, but
the Star Trek's on DVD, so I throw it on DVD and
I should
Blu-ray.
know. I have the Blu-rays.
Excellent, good choice, young man. And here's the thing: they're actually really good Star Trek stories. in those animated
they're great.
You know.
Oh, come on! You have to show your daughter the Ewok cartoon.
Willow, I will come up to Canada. I will come to Canada.
Let's watch The Caravan of Courage. That's a great movie, right? Not
Willow, I will come to Canada and do terrible things.
Oh, Canada, we're coming for you. Let's keep singing, everybody. Come on.
I will make you watch Lawrence Welk shows. Okay.
I think my mom has already. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. Well, one of these days, Willow, and this is a good idea for HWWS Web TV, which is approaching 100,000 subscribers. We should do a karaoke night, HWWS Web TV family style.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
I have to be highly
influenced by Liquid Courage.
Yeah, exactly.
I need no influence. Just give me the mic.
That's what I'm saying, Omar. I'm right here. I got a microphone right in front of me. I'm good.
Oh, Lord, that's scary.
You should do that, Garrett. Are you watching this, Garrett?
That needs to be on a T-shirt, Garrett. You can't do terrible things again.
Can we put that on a shirt, Garrett? Can we put it on? What's our website again? Teespring, whatever it's called.
I love what Carl wrote about the Scooby-Doo thing. Okay.
Everybody's
that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you get a free tote bag, Jerome?
Speaking of Scooby-Doo, me and my oldest son watched, was it Mystery Inc.?
Yeah.
Where it has like an overall arcing mystery.
Yeah, that was a really good show.
Yeah, it had like Lovecraftian elements to it and stuff.
Yeah.
I got really into that.
Did you see the Harlan Ellison character?
Yes.
He wasn't jerky enough.
The kids really liked that one too.
I thought that was really good. And then like I said, my oldest son, he's really into it. His name is Conan. He's like, Dad, so like, what's this reference and what's this reference? I was just like, okay, well, let me just tell you all of these things. I think I got a little horror nerd on my side.
Oh,
finally.
Lord.
It's about time.
Did you say your son's name is Conan? Like Conan the Barbarian?
Yeah.
Gee willikers. Speaking of Conan the Barbarian, Jerome, you're going to love this. I started watching a little indie film called Conan the Barbarian, the original with Schwarzenegger a few days ago.
Good film.
And here's my problem. I got about 45 minutes into the movie, and I'm like, I'm sorry, I can't do this. This humor, this acting, it's just, I can't do it.
It's not it's what they call a popcorn film, Ryan.
I can't do it,
You sit down.
But you have problems with Ewoks.
I can't watch. Okay.
Minutes into Conan the Barbarian, and then turn it off. But you have problems with Ewoks.
I'm sorry. I got to the Jerome. Jerome. I got to the part where he goes into this weird cave, and the woman like seduces him, and then she turns into like a weird banshee character or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm sorry. No.
It gets way better after that. That's actually the lowest point. That's the lowest point of that movie. After that, it's phenomenal.
Or no, wait. I got to the point where he meets up with that girl, and then they go down into the cave, and then they see these weird people having a ritual, and then I turned it off. That was when I turned it off. I couldn't do it.
Going down a path I can't follow, man.
Exactly, Omar. I can't do it.
Yeah, Omar's all about setting the bar high.
I was going to say, Omar, naming your son after one of the most popular fictional characters of all time, Conan the Barbarian. That's big, man.
Yeah, I have 3 that I know of. So Conan the oldest, Athena, it just follows right behind him, and then my youngest son is named Ender. So,
oh wow,
nice,
boy, you really went like fictional, mystical, like
Ender,
big name characters. My gosh.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised that my ex-wife let me do that. So kudos.
Is that
to
why
her.
she's an ex-wife?
That is not why, but that's too long of a show, my friend.
Omar, I too have an ex-wife, so I'm with you. Okay, so but hey, Ender, that was pretty good. Did you read the book or did you just watch the film?
No, I read the book just about every year.
Yeah,
even though like
really
Orson Scott Card's like a bad person.
Oh, he's horrible.
Yeah, he's really terrible. But
I love the
book.
Books are phenomenal.
Yeah.
More reading I have to add to my summer reading list, I guess.
Have you read all of them, or have you read just Ender's Game?
I read is it 3 of them that are?
There's actually about 5 or 6 because he kind of went off on the side with Bean and stuff.
Okay, so I read 3 of them.
You read Speaker of the Dead, Ender's Game, and which one?
Ender's Shadow.
Ender's Shadow. Okay, that's that one that's off to the side because that's Bean.
Yeah,
that's
so those are the 3 that I read.
Right. So
Okay, so I have to go on this name thing because I'm stuck on the whole Athena thing. But Garrett says that his granddaughter's name is Giselle Artemis.
Wow.
And
I love
William
that.
Octavian. And I'm just
Yeah.
like, I really love old names. So I
Wait a
think
minute.
like my daughter's name would be Artemis. Like I would totally do that.
yeah,
Yeah,
well,
Artemis is a great name.
Cara wouldn't let me name Gwen the name I wanted to give her. I
I
wanted to give her Guinevere,
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
man.
but she
Yeah.
wouldn't let
Hey,
me.
at least
so
she met you halfway.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
You did. And Jerome, that name, if you would have used it, hashtag lag boss. That would have been
Yes.
awesome, man.
but with the name Gwen,
Gwen
know,
Stacy.
thank you. Somebody said that, and I said I hope they don't
Gwen
meet.
Stacy.
She doesn't meet the same fate.
No, we don't want someone to fall like 50,000 stories and then crack the neck like they did in that horrible, horrendous piece of film known as Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man 2. That was garbage.
I have the comic.
Oh, I
have
thought
the
you just
comic
meant you
that's
didn't
up.
want her to date a nerd who runs around in his pajamas.
No, that's
There's that
fine.
too.
My problem is don't have it end up like Amazing Spider-Man 2, which is a hot piece of dumpster fire garbage. That's all.
Is that the one with
both of those
Electro?
movies are.
Yes, that's the one with Electro, aka Jamie Foxx, looks like a blue eel. Yeah.
Yeah, I heard about that one.
No offense to Mr. Andrew Garfield, but he signed up for some hot trash right there.
Yeah.
Is what it is.
I know. It's true.
See,
So-
3 years ago.
Rose. Okay, so
Yeah.
who knows who Briar Rose is?
Briar Rose? Good lord.
I do.
Who? Okay, well, who is she?
Okay.
It's Aurora's given name when she's hiding in the cabin in Sleeping Beauty.
I always thought that she was one of the sisters of one of the princesses because I read fables. Oh, yeah.
No, she when Merryweather, Flora, and Fauna took her to the cabin to hide out from Maleficent.
Okay.
Her given name at the castle was Aurora,
Right.
but they called her Briar Rose so that they could continue to be, safe and hidden. So,
Interesting.
Oh, okay.
Interesting. I haven't seen
It's
these
a-
original Disney
small
films.
tidbit of Sleeping Beauty.
You think that
Yeah.
that would have clued in with me because that is one of my favorite stories.
And Willow's like, oh, I forgot, man, I just failed
Yeah.
this test.
Well, and I was talking to Sage, and she said, I said, oh my God, are you serious? That's my favorite princess. And she said, wait, you know that too? Like, I'm like, yes. Just like, okay.
Since you failed the first part, Willow, I'm sorry, but you're going to have to write a 1,000-word essay describing to me who you think you are.
Come here. Say hi.
I will be a better geek. I will be a better geek.
Hey, look, we have a cute kid alert on camera 4.
My favorite Disney princess is Ariel.
Good pick.
Thanks.
Okay, say bye.
Bye.
Such a sweet kid.
Yeah, sweet kid.
Sweet kid. Yeah, my best
Yeah.
friend. Her
Yeah,
favorite
right.
movie of all time is Little Mermaid. So there you go.
What? Hang on a second here. I got a troublesome check.
So
Gwen
just
commercial on camera 4.
So that when Jerome said that he wasn't quite ready for his daughter to see the Rick and Morty type humor. So we were at MegaCon and we were hanging out with Sage and Garrett and Cosplay Michael and everybody in the room. It was quite a few years ago, and the kids were watching TV, and we were all talking, so we didn't really realize what was on TV. It was a cartoon, but it was it was about that Adult Swim time, and I was like, wait a minute, cartoon character that just swore, and I'm like, okay, whoopsie. Which I am guilty of allowing the children to watch Harley. So Harley Quinn. So, but my children also know that even though she says it, they don't always understand the whole joke. And when they do, I'm like, you never repeat that ever.
Yep.
That was a conversation me and Omar had just before the show started, was our feelings towards that new cartoon. I'm shocked. Like, when I first started watching it, I'm just like, oh, Harley swears. Okay, I'm not used to this at all. I'm used to the more like innocent, goofy type of Harley. But yeah, how do you feel about Harley being very in tune with her femininity and swears a lot.
I'll leave you people open on that.
Are you asking me?
I haven't seen the show. I don't know what that show is, so I
opinion on
can't
this
comment.
one. So
I just know the Harley Quinn I grew up on in '92 on Batman TAS. That's all I know.
It's never really bothered me. Like anybody that swears has never really bothered me. Mostly because if you know me, then you know that. Anyway, I have to like them out. But I guess like for me, it's kind of nice, but also I want to take caution and tell people it's like if you let somebody watch that, you have to realize that you can't. You have to tell them when they can use language like that and when they can't.
Yeah.
Like case in point, my kids in my classroom don't seem to realize that there is a code switching rule. Like when you hear something doesn't mean you should say it when you're in mixed company.
Oh yeah.
So there becomes like a lot of like innuendo that ends up getting said, and then I have kids that don't understand it, and then kids that over understand it, and then they want to explain things, and I'm like, y'all, this is a place where you don't talk like that. Even if you were talking like that in the car on the way to school, if you talk like that at your house with your parents, that's your thing, but you shouldn't do it here. And I shouldn't have to teach them that. Like, it shouldn't have to be something I say. Like, my kids know. You talk like that at school and I hear about it, you're dead. Like, I will. You're dead. Like, there's just no excuse for that. Now, my youngest does occasionally, like, we also have watched What They Do in the Shadows.
Okay.
So good.
So Oliver's favorite thing to say now is Nandor's fucking guy, like that thing. So Oliver will say, "Can I just say it once?" just once. And I'm like, "Will you never say it again?" And he's like, so I'm like, "Go ahead." And so he says it once and he was like, "That's funny." Whatever. I'm like, well, if I make it a taboo, then he's going to want to go and do it. If I say there's ways and places that people say this and you shouldn't use it when you're here or here or here or whatever, like my struggle is not swear words. It's talking about their butt and their balls. I'm like, we walked in the store the other day and he says, "Mom, my balls are sweating." And I'm like, shut up.
Wow. What did I just come back from my commercial break for?
So okay, that kind of attitude though is very common with guys though, and I'm finding it Joe will just like blurt out shit like that too every now and then. I'm just like, really? I do not need to know this.
TMI, people. There's something called TMI. Keep it to yourself.
If he can't tell you, who can he tell?
I don't know.
There is that true, Omar.
I don't
There's
know.
that.
What else did you say, Brian?
See, my problem with the swearing is that in a lot of cases, and I'm talking not everything, but in a lot of cases on television or movies, they put it in for what they call shock value, and it really has no value in that. In that, I think that's usually when they do that, that shows weak writing, in my opinion. Okay, because you can do a whole lot of stuff without swearing.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, and still get the same value. As to Harley's sexuality, and basically in the comics, she went she and Ivy are an item now. I have no problem with that. I think that's great. I want my daughter to see that sort of thing so that my daughter can go.
It's becoming normal.
Right. And if my daughter decides that she wants to go that direction, this father is going to support her 100%. Okay. But she needs to understand, and that's what some of these shows can do, is help her understand that it's okay. That's why she's a fan of JoJo. And she just came out, and so I don't, as I said in one of my posts on Facebook, I don't like the junk JoJo pushes, but I respect her for what she just did, and that if Gwen wants to, say, "Hey, I'm this person," I have no problem with that. But if Gwen comes up and goes, "I want to buy this junk." I'm like, "No, we're not." You know?
This is Garrett's response to that, which I think is really pretty priceless, actually.
Yeah.
So when are we allowed to swear? When you're no longer needing to ask that question.
Well, wait a minute. Isn't Garrett ex-Navy?
That's a good point.
So Garrett, ex-military. So Garrett, your kids can swear when they're in the induction center. How about that?
I mean, yeah. Oh, jeez. All this stuff about swearing. What did I walk into?
This podcast episode was about Tarantino, so.
No, yeah.
But if you look at like the like Battlestar Galactica, okay.
Frack.
What was frack exactly?
Dude, I use that in my everyday vocabulary because I don't want to use the F-bomb. I want to be family friendly. Most time on the show, I'm trying to be family friendly. When I'm with my friends, I'm like, what the frack are you doing? Or are you out of your Vulcan mind?
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing?
Right, exactly. And that's what I'm saying is that okay, I'm sorry, Garrett, you know.
Those are fine words. You called him Navy. You don't do that.
I know,
U.S. Army infantry, man.
Hey,
you could have called him Air Force.
Hey, that's my father. 20 years, man. That's where I grew up. Okay. Ouch.
I don't know if I should put this on.
No. There you go. All right, there it is.
You're short though. I mean, like you're short, so maybe that's.
But anyway, you know, there was a Disney show called Recess. I don't know if you ever watched it.
Yeah, I saw Recess the movie. The movie.
And the lead.
Watch the show, Ryan.
Yeah,
watch
same
the
here.
show. It is fantastic.
I love the show.
It's on my list. It's on my list.
So what's the swear word? They have a swear word, and as a matter of fact, one kid got put on trial for it.
Oh.
Womps. This womps.
Love that.
And he made that swear word up so that he wouldn't use swear words.
Wow.
Okay, so, you know, again, if you use swear words, it's weak writing, in my opinion. You know?
Oh, there you go, Garrett.
Well, just so you know, though, we've been doing that for years. We've been saying frick and frack and fudge and sugar and all kinds of things to replace all of those words. So
hey, look what they did with Yosemite Sam. Okay, he did not swear a single time, and a lot of those cartoons were originally adult-oriented cartoons, and he came up with all these other words.
What was it? Rascally Rabbit?
There's that too. That's actually Elmer Fudd was Rascally Rabbit.
Suffer and Succotash.
Suffer and Succotash. There you go. That was Sylvester.
Mm-hmm.
I was actually going to point out the PG-13 cut of Deadpool 2 that they released.
Yeah, they put that out.
What
was it called? The Deadpool Christmas special?
It was like Once Upon a Deadpool or something like that.
Exactly, yes.
What was it, about 5 minutes long?
Actually, they were really clever about it, and they saved the F word for one time.
Okay.
And it was really funny and really well placed with what they did with it. And I was like, actually, in some points of this, I like the PG-13 one more than the original cut.
Well, there's the swear word, GW. Thanks for bringing that up.
Dag-nabbit.
Dag-nabbit. Yep. I said dag-naggit, but maybe it's wrong. Okay. Dag-naggit. All right.
I think it depends on where you're from.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry, Nicole. I'm not from the sunshine state of Florida. I'm from Maryland.
I'm not either. A group of Michigan. Shush.
No, that's true.
Michigan,
go Wolverines. Is that what they say?
No one's actually from Florida. We just find ourselves in this little.
I actually have snow.
Good point.
I have snow still on the ground.
Yep.
Okay.
It snowed at the beginning of this week, and it's just been, slowly melting now. So
slowly melting, slowly.
But watching X-Men, the animated series, Rogue used to say, Beast with the Stars and Garters. Mm-hmm. My Stars and Garters.
Oh, my Stars and Garters, yeah.
Yeah, and I remember getting in trouble for saying Rogue's thing, and it was what and saying Hill.
Yep.
it's like I said it. I was in my foster home. I said it, and my foster mom gave me heck for it. I'm just like, what? It's on a cartoon.
Yeah, that's fair game.
But but when you're in a very religious family,
it's a little bit different up there.
Stuff like that.
But in the cartoon in the 90s was one thing.
Yeah.
In a cartoon now,
it's nothing.
It's not that cut and dry.
Yeah.
So Rose, Willow, I couldn't say Lords of Light there. Like Thunder. Lords of Light.
By the power of Grayskull.
There you go.
Before my time.
Still say it to this day. In Puerto Rico, we got everything like 2 years later. So HeMan was still very popular with me when everyone else was on Power Rangers in the States. So
I was one of them.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, Buzz Dixon talked about HeMan today on my show.
Yes, and speaking of, hey Brian.
Yeah.
Speaking of, we actually managed to get him on our show for May, so I'm excited for this.
Brian told me on my way home, and I'm like, okay, sounds good. And he's like,
this guy?
No, he goes, Buzz Dixon accepted my friend request, and I'm like, cool. And he's like, I thought you'd be more excited. I'm like, I don't know who that is. He's like,
all I can say about Buzz is I want you to look him up on IMDb, and you will be surprised at how much stuff he's involved in the industry.
Well,
he's a giant.
Didn't know his name. Like he was he wrote this and this and this and this and this, like all the fingers like Genie. And then I'm like, oh, I didn't know. I don't know anybody's name.
Yeah,
lost Ryan.
I'm guessing Brian had to take off. He's got to do his show soon, so. But yeah, no, I'm excited for that because he did pretty much all the cartoons that I watched in the 90s.
Yeah, like I said, go look him up on the Internet Movie Database.
Yeah,
and you're gonna go, he did what? Come on, he did an episode in '92 of My Little Pony. He did an episode of Gem, but this is also the guy who wrote who created Cobra La in G.I. Joe. Watch my show. You'll hear a lot of things and of course he was involved with the creation of Turbo Teen.
I remember vaguely of it.
Yeah, it was.
Turbo Teen is not one that I'm familiar with.
Oh dear Lord, Omar, you are fortunate. It featured prominently in the oh my God, the 80s. What were they thinking? And it was a response to
wow.
Yeah, Ryan's gonna be interviewing Dan Wells.
Who's Dan Wells?
He's a Hugo Award-winning author. So I'm
cool.
Looking forward to rewatching that later.
So it's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Terror in Paradise, Terror Tracks, Visionaries, Dark Planet, G.I. Joe, of course.
He did Thundar. He worked on Goldie Gold and Action Jack. It's an important show.
Conan.
Yeah.
Tiny Toons. That's huge. Some of them are Rescue Rangers. Like some of them I can't see because I don't have my glasses on, but
he worked. He did an episode of Batman the Animated Series.
I don't know that I can tell that story, Brian.
So anyway, the man has been around and knows pretty much everybody. He's in the industry, and you're going to have a lot of fun listening because he has great stories to tell.
I'm excited to meet him myself. You think I turn into a giant dork on a normal day? This is going to be interesting. Seeing me completely nerd out.
All I can say about it is that check out what he's written, so you at least have a background on it, so you understand what he's talking about. So, Omar's been awfully quiet. That scares me.
Oh no, I'm just taking it all in because this is all new information for me.
Oh.
I didn't know who it was. Not that I didn't know that there was somebody that wrote all of that stuff and that I watched pretty much all of it. But I didn't know anybody. I don't know anybody's name. And so, you know, because when I was a kid, I didn't care. And
no. All you cared about was who was the voice actor, if you cared anything at all.
Well, and then I didn't even really pay attention to that because I didn't really, I don't know. I guess I was a really dumb kid.
Oh, no. Most of us are the same way. Most of us were the same way.
But, and I care now, but he's like, I didn't know anybody's name. So he was like, that'll be really cool. And I was like, oh, well, I didn't know he wrote all of that. I was like, well, it'll be fun. I have to like beef up and know what I'm talking about. But yeah, Brian wants to tell me the story. I can't tell it. No, I can't.
So, but yeah, it's. I recommend you watch my show from this morning. It was very enlightening. A lot of stuff was, it was revealed that I didn't even know about, and I've been friends with Buzz now for about 2.5 years, 3 years now. We met at a convention up here in Massachusetts, and he's got a wonderful warped sense of humor. Okay, so you're gonna have fun.
You're cutting in and out there, Jerome.
No,
it's okay.
He's on my end though. I can hear him.
Yeah. Okay, maybe that's just me then. Okay, go on.
Jerome, where in Massachusetts do you live?
I live right outside of Lowell. I'm in a place called Chelmsford, which is a suburb of Lowell.
I went and visited Salem for the first time about 2 years ago.
You didn't go during Halloween, did you?
I did actually.
Only the tourists do it during Halloween. Well, the rest of us natives stay far, far away during that time frame.
I was there on business. I was doing a lecture on the history of horror, so they kind of brought me there during Halloween.
Did you get to see the Bewitched statue?
No, they just took me around to a bunch of bars actually. So it's
I drank a lot
while I was there.
Please tell me that Bewitched statue actually looks like the woman.
Yes, it does.
Okay, good.
Next time, Willow, next time I'm out there, I'll take a picture of it and send it to you.
All right.
But like I said, it's kind of like there's you guys in Florida. I mean, you don't go anywhere near Orlando during certain times of the year. You don't even drive near the town.
Well, everybody was like, well, look at all these people at the beach. Don't these people in Florida know? And I'm like, I know it's spring break. Dummies, it's you guys. You guys are the ones here.
Yeah. Florida residents stay away from the beach during spring break.
At spring break, I don't go to the beach. I don't go anywhere. Like from April to October, we don't go. We wouldn't have gone to Disney.
Yep.
We don't have passes anymore. But we wouldn't do any of that. And if we did, it was like for a special event or for the water park or for a special thing. Yeah. It was never because we were like, oh, we have passes, so let's just go. I'm like, no.
Yeah, there's always a section of some area that people don't go to during a certain time of year because it's always filled with tourists. Okay. Like up here, you don't go anywhere near the mountains in the fall up here around New Hampshire because it's full of tourists and their buses looking at dead leaves, on trees. So, the leaf peepers. So, yeah. But I'm glad you had fun up here. I wish that
was the case here in Winnipeg, but like nobody wants to tour around Winnipeg.
I lived in Canada. I love Canada. I loved where I lived. So.
I loved Michigan. Don't get me wrong. I don't miss the snow. I'm okay. Like I could totally watch the snow from inside my heated house.
That is,
and then not have to shovel it or drive in it. I'm good. Like, but I mean, the cold doesn't bother me, but I don't want to have to drive in it. I mean, I equate that to driving here during the summer or any time of the year. Like people are idiots here. Like, does anybody know how to drive?
No.
Well, it's awful when it just rains a little bit down here. Everyone loses their damn minds.
Like, oh my God.
The only thing they know how to press is the brake pedal.
Yeah.
Oh, wait a minute. Isn't Florida filled with old people? Isn't that why,
I mean, not Tampa, really. Like, we're not the retirement community, Like,
okay,
maybe farther south.
The villages and stuff. Like, that's not where we're at. Like I got people break stomping.
You guys are going to have like a mass amount of Winnipeggers, Manitobans just coming to Florida after everything opens up.
A bunch of breweries, so it's nothing but young hipsters. They should know how to drive.
Yeah, but how drunk are they?
That's a good point.
That might be. Well, my whole thing is
functionally.
Last Sunday we went to McDonald's and there's no parking spot, so I was waiting for this person to back out, and it took 5 minutes. For them to back out. Their very small crossover SUV with their I don't know, northern license plate. I don't know what state it was. I can't remember. And I'm like, isn't it about time for y'all to go home? Like, Jesus. I'm like, I just want to park and get food for my kids. We don't have power at the house. Come on.
Well, up here in Massachusetts, it's when you drive, it's like driving in Mad Max. Okay. We are serious combat drivers, when you go down to a section called Storrow Drive, you better understand the concept of combat while you're driving. Okay, we're serious up here. Okay, my dad used to be a cab driver in DC, so he knows how to drive crazy. So
people don't know how to drive here either. So it's funny. Me and my sister, we met a guy that came here from Africa, and he goes, nobody knows how to drive here. I don't understand it. I was like, if a guy from Africa hates the way Winnipeggers drive, there's an issue.
When a buddy of mine and I went down to Puerto Rico for a wedding, after the wedding, the family was going to take us to the beach, and we're going to have party there. And they said, well, we'll go slow so you can keep up with us. And my friend and I kind of looked at them and laughed, and we said, no, just drive. All right. And they drove like Boston drivers that you hear about. We get there, and they get out of the car, and I thought they were going to kill us until they came up and went, it was amazing. You're the only mainlanders who ever kept up with us. We're like, yeah, we're from Boston. Okay.
That's pretty impressive. I grew up in Puerto Rico, so I know exactly what that is.
And it was down in the Ponce area.
Yeah.
Okay, so they're like driving like crazy, and Barry, my buddy, who's later my roommate, we're just going Friday night on Storrow Drive, no problem.
That's much respect. Yeah, most people can't hang.
Welcome to Massachusetts.
Well, I don't know what the roads are like out where you guys are from, but in Winnipeg we are notorious for having like the worst roads. There's a saying that went around in England, they drive on the left. In Winnipeg we drive on what's left.
and that's why people in the north like the wintertime, because all the potholes are filled with snow.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's pothole season right now. So that's why Boston drivers are always swerving all over the place. We're dodging the potholes.
Yeah.
That's a Michigan thing too.
See, there you go.
And then we don't have 4 seasons, we have 5. We have fall, winter, spring, summer, and construction.
Yep, same here.
Yep.
So construction takes over, all of the seasons that are not snowing.
Oh no, we get that even during snow.
I think it's more so it's like winter, almost winter, somewhat winter.
Okay, so I have a question since we're talking about driving. Okay. It's movie related, since this is Reels and Eels. Okay. Greatest car chase scene ever.
Ooh, that's a good question.
I've got 2 of them that I can't decide which one's the best, but I want to hear what you guys have to say.
Greatest car chase scene.
Man.
I kind of like the scene in a Death Proof. Sorry.
Death what?
Death Proof.
Don't know that one, to be honest.
It's such a good scene.
Yeah, Kurt Russell. is like a serial killer in a car.
Oh
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
And he's
They did a lot of
he's
research
got-
for
he's
that
got, like, a
movie.
stunt woman strapped to his hood the entire
Oh.
time the scene's going on. It's
Mhm.
pretty wild. It's a good one. That's a really good one.
Okay.
As much as I hate, and I don't use that word lightly, hate Mark Wahlberg, I gotta give it to the Italian Job remake with the Mini Coupes. I think.
Oh.
Have you seen the original Mini Coupe chase scene?
Yeah. and
It's
I
like
love
a ballet. It was like a
Yeah.
ballet.
Yeah.
You know.
I was gonna say that one too because
Yeah.
I don't hate Mark Wahlberg, but
So awful.
I did very much enjoy that movie, and that's not a movie that I would have generally watched. Like
The
You know,
original Italian Job was really good too, though.
What's funny
Yeah,
about the
Michael Caine.
original Italian Job, which cracks me up to this day, is there. You know who plays their computer expert in that movie? In the original with Michael Caine,
Who?
Benny Hill.
Right.
Oh, really?
Yes, as the computer expert. Think about that for a moment.
That's great.
Yeah.
Okay, so my two most incredible car chases are either the French Connection chase scene through New York City,
Oh, that's
Okay.
a great one.
especially when you consider that they didn't have a license to do it. Okay.
Really? Okay.
Okay. That's what I'm reading. I don't know how true that is. The other one has to be Bullet.
So,
Yeah,
okay,
Bullet.
a lot of people like Bullet, and I love how my husband we ended up watching the movie, and his father was like talking about this scene all throughout the whole movie, and then we get to that, and then at the end it's like Joe's like, "That's it."
Well, anyways, but also you got to realize a couple of things. All right, no CGI because no CGI back then.
Right.
Okay, all done. And if you watch carefully, there's no background music during that chase scene. You're just hearing the engine and all the stuff that's involved. Okay, and then you watch it. They use the same car throughout the thing. It wasn't like a dozen cars like in some of these chase scenes nowadays.
Yeah.
It was one car went through those hills of San Francisco and then took all those heavy turns outside the city. Okay. So,
In the chat, Brian is mentioning Fast and the Furious, and I will have to say that Fast 5 with the giant safe being pulled, that's
Oh yes.
pretty impressive. My girlfriend is shouting at me from the kitchen downstairs, Batman Begins, so I'm assuming she's watching the podcast because I can't think of another reason why she's yelling that at me.
maybe you're watching Batman Begins tonight as
Or
date night movie.
maybe
Yeah.
she's watching and she's just like, "Hey, I'm watching Batman Begins," but it just seems
Well, Brian said Smokey and the Bandit, which is one of my all-time favorite movies. So,
Yeah, but see,
I think
that's a series of chase films, in my opinion. You know,
Yeah.
and I suppose that would be the case. But Brian said that in Bullet, Steve McQueen actually drove the car.
yes, he did. He
the
did.
driver.
He did.
Yeah.
And that's what makes that scene so powerful is when you find out behind the scenes stuff. You're like, that's incredible, especially San Francisco, those hills.
What was that the movie that got him into racing, or was he already a racer at that
he was
point?
already
I think
big
he was
into
already.
it.
Yeah, I think he already was.
He was kind of anything cool
was
that
good.
was ever done. Steve McQueen was doing it. Like he
Yeah.
was taking kung fu lessons from Bruce Lee. He was, learning from expert racers.
I believe they called that
yeah,
he was a
he was
man's man.
That's
Yeah.
what he was.
You know, he was one of the last true macho men.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, and Burt Reynolds was a stuntman before he was
Mhm.
he
even
was
an
a male
actor,
model
so-
too, wasn't he?
Yeah. He has a very,
Yeah.
very famous picture.
Yeah.
So, fun fact about that particular photo. At
Wow,
my
nice
restaurant-
transition.
Yeah, at my restaurant where I'm the chef at, we do a yearly calendar with the entire staff, with the bartenders and the cooks and stuff.
You didn't pose like that,
For
did
this
you?
past year, for the month of October, I did the Burt Reynolds.
Nice.
Yeah. So if you live in the Florida area,
Come on down.
up.
Okay.
Hey,
Where
October.
do I I send the money so that I can get that calendar sent up here?
In fact, you know what? Give me one sec. You guys keep going. I'm gonna go and grab it.
Remember, Omar, this is a family show.
Oh, this is awesome. I learned so much from you guys when doing these shows.
Okay, so I remember this movie, but I don't exactly remember the car chase, but the To Live or Die in LA.
Yep.
With William Peterson,
yep.
Otherwise known as Gil Grissom, because that's pretty much the only other person that people know him as. And I don't remember the car chase. Was it with semi trucks or?
I don't remember because I vaguely remember that film. I'll be honest, it was kind of a blip on the culture screen.
I think it got more popular later on. Like it has a certain following.
Well, that movie is the most LA of that time. Like
most LA. Because it was filmed in LA.
Yeah.
It really happened there.
All right, so shamelessly plugging the mermaid calendar right there, and then I will flip over to
you are on the big screen, bud.
October.
I'll be right back, guys.
Mr. October. Nice.
I love this.
It took quite a long time to grow that mustache, I gotta tell you.
Oh, that is awesome.
Yeah.
Everybody can.
And well, okay, since we're showing off our calendar poses.
Oh, nice. I
love
expect this to be like a show and tell. This is great.
So yeah, a couple years ago,
did you do an Elvira for that?
I did. Like I got together with a couple people and we did our boudoir cosplay stuff, and it was fun. Definitely an interesting.
Friends that live near me, like I'm gonna be like, let's go take pictures of us in this costume doing this. What the heck? Where are my people at?
We need to get together. We need to get.
You guys invite me over on not a weekend, and then I can probably manage that.
We need to get all our podcasting crew together to do a calendar. I think.
Oh no, you don't want to
and friends.
You know, me semi-nude. Let me put it this way. You know the bright white behind me right here? If I take off my shirt, you're all going to be blinded. It's going to be like, like Gondor has set the fire signals off. That's okay. I am seriously white boy here. Okay, there's not a single bit of color on me.
So I recently bought a new swimsuit for the first time in like years because I just moved to a place that had a pool.
Okay, so we're gonna see you in a Speedo. Is that what you're telling us, Omar?
Well, not exactly. So I'm a big fan of Casino Royale, and I was like,
wait a minute. Which Casino Royale? There's 3 of them.
So all of them, first off, but not the David Niven one that I'm. It's Daniel Craig.
Oh, okay.
And I was just like, I want that swimsuit. That looks awesome.
Yes, but do you have that body to go with that?
Yeah, I'm not Daniel Craig. I am some kind of cross between a human and a sea otter. So when I put that on and went out to the pool, everyone just cleared out. There's like a short, hairy man out here. We don't know where he came from. Probably the wilderness.
Okay, so
we gotta go.
They all thought you were just going to bathe in the pool instead of actually.
I put on the suit and take off the shirt. I am this white, and I've got a dad bod. Okay, so there's your horror film right there. Okay,
I am going to plead the fifth on making any comments.
Yeah, but see, here's the thing: is at least the 2 of us, Omar and myself, we understand and accept our body shapes. Okay, we're just like, yeah, it's who we are. Just get over it. You know?
I mean, as long as I don't mess this one up with my girlfriend, I think I'm good for the rest of my life. I don't.
Excellent.
I didn't do anything else.
Well, I'm okay too, but I'm not going to poke fun because this tiger has earned her stripes.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
just saying.
it was funny. My first time taking part in the pinup pageant here, one of my friends, she sells like adult toys and all that other stuff. She had a booth at the tattoo show. She came up to me. She goes, "Willow, you're white." I'm like, well, "Duh, yeah." She goes, "No, you need a tan."
Can you guys tan in Canada? Is that a
Willow needs a little vitamin D is what she needs, you know.
I need to use that Jergens tanning lotion.
Well, wait a minute. Isn't that how Tom Selleck had that tan for Magnum? Is they would shellac him or something, you know? They would spray tan him.
Yeah, I was pretty sure he was spray tanning the entire time, right?
Yeah.
I mean, but his spray tan is different from, like, say, if I were to go down to the tanning salon, right?
Well, you know,
he had Oompa.
He had a better.
So he had that top-notch stuff.
Yeah, he had a better budget.
Who is the older guy? God.
He was Dracula in Hamilton. George Hamilton.
Yeah.
George Hamilton. Okay.
There's like there's some sort of color, like some sort of
tan master. He was the tan master. Was George Hamilton? You know, I mean, come on. He was the only Dracula with a tan. You know, okay. You know.
Fun horror fact: the original mythos for vampires and Dracula, they could go out in the sun.
Oh, absolutely.
It wasn't until Nosferatu that it all changed. So cinema has lent itself really well to mythology.
Yep. That's why they used it in the Dracula film with Keanu Reeves there. Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Bram Stoker's.
Yeah.
I love how you chose Keanu Reeves and not, Gary Oldman. Or
I was actually
people that kept their British accents.
I was actually thinking of Winona Ryder, but I blanked on her name just as I was about to say it.
Okay, they're the same person.
Yeah. But yeah.
Speaking of Gary Oldman, that guy is like so versatile with his acting, and you never really know it's him until like the credits start rolling, and it's like, oh.
What's interesting is that when he had done that role in Dracula, okay, and that's fine. It was an okay film. I mean, there were some good spots that I really liked, and some I didn't. Then the next thing I saw him in was he was playing Dr. Smith in Lost in Space. And I'm like, no, you can't. No. I was like, no, I was so against it. I still am against it. I didn't think he did that great of a job as Dr. Smith. But
I think he was the best part of that movie. Not saying much, but
but I really liked him in Fifth Element.
Yes, Fifth Element was great.
Fifth Element.
The Professional, as the coked up cop, that was amazing.
Okay.
Also, True Romance. Didn't he play? He played like a White Rasta.
I never saw True Romance.
Yeah, it's definitely one to check out. I love it. I think it gets maybe overhyped sometimes, but it's excellent and it's very Tarantino-esque. Like they definitely followed a lot of his script for that one.
Okay.
He's definitely my favorite Jim Gordon, though. Like
yes.
I don't think I can see anybody else playing that role other than him right now.
He showed up on set already in that year one garb. No one told him to do that.
Really?
And Nolan was just like, oh, well, okay.
Why? What did Nolan have in mind for him?
Like, I mean, who knows? I think Nolan is kind of blessed by the actors that he brings on.
Yeah.
Maybe he gets a little too much credit sometimes for what they do. Because, I mean, these choices, like I said, Gary Oldman as Jim Gordon, it's hard to unsee. Like, and it's hard to not compare him. Like, with anyone new that comes up is going to be compared to that version of Jim Gordon, right?
Oh, yeah. And I'm glad you brought that up, that year one look, for him.
Yeah, it's my favorite. It's funny. I'm not a big fan of The Dark Knight Returns from Frank Miller, but I love year one.
I really wish
it was told through the eyes of Jim Gordon.
Yeah, I wish the Batman they had done, that first Batman Begins. I wish they had done more of the Batman Year One style, which didn't put him into the suit until almost the end. And I really wish they had done closer to that. I think it would have been a stronger film then. Because I'll be honest, my problem with Nolan stuff was Batman. While Batman is supposed to be dark, it just felt too dark. I felt too depressed by the end of the movies.
Well, I think that's a trade-off that we get for wanting a more like grounded Batman, is that we kind of give up the comic book aspect of it. Like he's a comic book superhero. He does outlandish superhero things.
Absolutely.
And we don't get that in the movies because we're stuck to this. Go ahead.
Yeah. No. Please continue. I apologize.
Yeah, if we do it in the movies, we get the super campy stuff.
But
Batman and Robin.
We've seen that. We've seen that it works though with other superhero movies. The MCU is doing fantastic, leaning into their superhero counterparts. You can't say that Winter Soldier is a campy movie by any means. It's a serious.
But here's the problem I had with the Nolan ones is the heroes are supposed to make you feel like there's hope.
Right.
Okay. I did not feel that way with Nolan, Dark Knights. Okay, with their Batmans, and that was my problem. Is yes, Batman is dark, Batman is gritty, and nobody has a problem with that. When you go all the way back to Detective 27, Batman has always been this dark character until the 50s, the late 40s, 50s, and 60s, and then once Adams and O'Neill got hold of it, he brought them back to their dark side. But there was always that thing of, you know what? There's hope here. This guy is inspiring you, for better. Yes, he deals with the dark side because Gotham is so corrupt, but there's always that twinge of hope, and inspiration. And I did not get that from any of the Nolans.
I completely agree. There's this, it's the shadow, right? Like, if you ever listen to the old radio shows with Orson Welles and stuff, it's there's a huge level of darkness to it, but like when the music pumps up and the shadow appears, like there is this sense of hope, the sense that like the good guys here, the bad guys are in trouble now. There's a Batman the Animated Series episode. It's my favorite episode of any cartoon series of all time, possibly any TV show of all time, and it was Beware the Gray Ghost. It's where Batman, it's a flashback to young Bruce Wayne, and he's watching like a black and white serial of a superhero called the Gray Ghost, who's supposed to be like the Shadow, and he's actually voiced by I'm a terrible fan right now.
It's okay.
Batman 66.
Wayne. Adam West.
Adam West. He's actually voiced by Adam West, and the plot line involves the actor who portrayed that guy is broke, and he's trying to like sell his stuff to recruit money and everything.
Interesting.
And there's a fanatic who starts doing a series of bombings and stuff to ape an episode of his show.
Yep.
And Batman and the actor dressed as the Gray Ghost have to team up for it. And you don't feel like this guy is going to help Batman at all until the final 3 minutes of the episode. He shows up as the Gray Ghost, and it's this like huge, inspiring, like your hair stand up on your arm moment of like, oh, this is great, this is awesome. And that kind of thing is missing from the Nolan movies. You don't really get that as much.
And I think, unfortunately, what happened is because the Nolan films were hugely successful, there's no denying how successful it was. Is that I think Warner Brothers sort of took that as a theme and went with the DC universe, their cinematic universe, dark also. And I don't think it always works out very well.
It doesn't,
because heroes are supposed to be heroes. They're not supposed to be villains.
Right.
Right. I think Man of Steel was a perfect example of how that doesn't work out very well.
Yeah.
Here you have a story of a baby who's saved from a dying planet and sent off to Earth. And the only reason why he's good, why he's altruistic like that, is because he lands on the Kent's farm.
Yeah.
And the Kents show him those values. In the Man of Steel movie, you don't get that sense. Like Kevin Costner's Pa Kent almost tells him the opposite. Don't save those kids on the bus.
Yeah.
Don't save me. You know, stay hidden. And he learns all these values from a computer program version of his pops from Krypton. It completely changes the character and what he means. He's supposed to be a symbol of hope. They say it 5 or 6 times in that movie. And yet the film itself looks drab and like diluted of light. And the characters kind of, Superman doesn't care about humanity. He kind of cares. He cares about his mom
and his girlfriend.
Yeah.
And as long as they're good, he's willing to trash everything to get that, to make
sure.
Yeah,
exactly. I mean, Superman, as we've known him for years, would never do what happened in Metropolis. I mean, the body count,
it's kind of crazy. And it's, I don't want that to be a knock on Henry Cavill, because I think he did a great job with what he was given. I would love to see him in a different Superman movie with a different director and writer who maybe understand the character better, because I think he has the potential to be the best version of what we've seen on film.
Yeah. And I think he's probably the best both. Like he is probably the best Clark Kent and Superman, because usually the complaint is that one is better than the other.
And that's the same problem with a lot of the Batman films, is
But I kind of feel a lot of what is the trouble with like DC. I feel like they don't portray them as human either. Like if they're living on Earth, they're going to have some human problems. And the difference between like, Captain America and Steve Rogers is that he is a human. His problems just come from a different place. Sam Wilson is Falcon. He's still Falcon. He still has all these, Falcon problems, only he doesn't have any superpowers. He's got bionic wings. Yeah. I mean, these things are like, they're still grounded solely in the fact that they're part of humanity. I think the problem with Batman, though, is that his humanity is not the character. Like the character he is, the person he is Batman.
Right. And that's been pretty much established. Yeah, and that's been pretty much established that Bruce Wayne is his alter ego, and that he is Batman. And that's been established now for about 40 odd years since the Michael Keaton Batman. Okay?
But I think that's the difference in telling the story.
Right. But you look at those early Batmans, which I'm considering the Keaton as an early Batman, is there was humanity there. Okay, there was concern about people. There was, I'm not going to kill the villains. I may rough them up a bit, but I'm also going to, I'm saving the people that are being hurt. I mean, he would save people left. They would save people left and right. I did not get that with the Nolan ones. I did not get that with the Superman.
They did kind of touch on it when he came up with, when the child was asking him, "Are you a bad guy?" And he turned around and said, "No, I'm not the bad guy." And he had to say it a couple times before he, realized, I'm not the bad guy.
Yeah, but even the villains, you look at all this stuff, villains don't think of themselves as bad guys. I mean, look at any of the Bond villains. Ask them how many of them think of themselves as bad guys.
Yeah.
Okay. The villain never always thinks they're the hero. Okay. Right. So, but the question though is again, it's what you're projecting. Omar's correct about Superman. Okay. Superman is Midwestern values, those old school Midwest values, truth, justice, and the American way. You didn't get that from this last series of movies.
No, not at all. I would argue that Superman in the core 7 of the Justice League, whether it be comics or whatever iteration, should be your most human character.
Because he's the most powerful.
When you break it down, he loves humanity and he exemplifies those values more than any other team member. Like you said before, Nicole, Bruce Wayne died in the alley the night that his parents died.
Yeah. Yes.
And what emerged from that was this creature that plays like a human. The Green Lantern, as much as he is from Earth, usually, is off in space. He's handling galaxies.
More
Captain Marvel than anything else. He's detached.
He's also a
from
cop.
humanity.
He's also a cop. To be honest, he's a cop.
Yeah, he's a cop. You know, the feeling of isolation that they try to project onto Superman and Man of Steel falls more in line with the Martian Manhunter.
Yes.
You know, he watched his family die. He was an adult when that happened, and that feeling of loneliness should follow him. It's almost like the Silver Surfer. You know, these are characters that no matter who they surround themselves with, they will be alone.
Yep, they stand apart
forever. You know, so when you look at it, Clark is really the human element that brings these heroes together, that makes them be like, yeah, Earth is worth saving. Look at this guy.
Yeah.
You know, he should be the inspiration. And, you know, most people miss that part because they're always saying he's not relatable because he's, you know, a god or he does this. I was like, no, he's not relatable because you didn't listen to country music when you were a kid. You were an emo kid who was listening to some dark stuff and you were wearing big black pants. That's why you like Batman.
Yeah, you were a goth kid. Yeah,
you know?
Exactly.
We all were. It happened. You know?
I think it's the values though too. Like if you've gone through that kind of struggle, you do identify with Batman because you realize that there's a lot of darkness and I have to try really hard to be part of the light. And I think that when that's part of your life, it's hard not to. And I'm not saying like you chose it by listening to the music and dressing that way. I mean, you like actually like it.
Well, also part of the part of Batman and like some of the other characters is, you know, we could be Batman. I can't be Superman. I'm sorry. You know, I am not the last son of Krypton, you know, or, you know, the strange visitor from another planet. I'm just an average schmuck. Okay. Batman is an average schmuck. If you actually think about it, you know, he's worked. Well, all right. That's his superpower. He's rich. Yeah. But you know, it's a case of, you could be Batman. You could be Hawkeye or the Green Arrow. You could be a number of these characters. You can't be Green Lantern. Why? Because how many of us have a power ring? You know. Right. But you can pick up a bow and arrow. You can pick up a batarang. You know. None of us want to be Cyborg, even though we think he's a cool thing, because none of us want to lose our limbs. You know. And that's why Batman was so relatable. That's why every kid wants to be Batman, boy or girl wants to be Batman. Okay, and
my little girl was Batman for Halloween once. Not Batgirl, Batman.
Right, right. Yeah. But Superman is right. He is humanity. He's almost a Nietzschean humanity. You know, almost that perfect human. You know,
and I would say, you know, you take the superpowers out of it. It's more likely you can be like Clark than you can be like Bruce, right?
Yep.
You can, you know, none of us really come from, you know, big financial means or anything like that. We grew up in small families and small communities, and we kind of branched out into the bigger city later.
My mother's an Iowa farm girl.
You know, Clark Kent's the guy who's going to take time out of his day to run food drives and to help the homeless guy.
I feel like he's the perfect, like I call it my superhero complex, and this is what causes me a lot of my anxiety. Like yesterday, got hit really hard with anxiety because I always want to help people.
Yeah,
and Clark Kent is one of those characters that is the perfect representation of having a superhero complex, always wanting to be there to help people, always wanting to, but then he spreads himself thin and he doesn't have enough energy to deal with his own shit.
Yeah, you notice Lois has a crush on Superman, but falls in love with Clark.
Right.
You know, exactly. And that's an important difference. And there's a lot of people who don't get that difference. The crush versus the love. She wants to sleep with Superman. She wants to live with Clark.
Yeah.
And that's the important difference, you know?
But I think it's the genuineness of character. Like, I think that overall is what we all fall in love with. Like, you fall in love with the part of the person that's that grows old and eventually comes of age and does all of these amazing things by your side.
Yeah.
And I think that's the biggest thing. It's like, I think we want that. And I think maybe that's why we love Superman, because they have that. Like, like they try to build that, even though, he's always going to save Lois, like there's always going to be that weakness, but isn't that the weakness for all of us, that when it comes to somebody that we love, we're always going to put them first, because everybody
the most human.
Like you're second, like this is the person I live for. So
yeah. For me, it's always been like, here's this being that protects the world, right? He doesn't just stay local. And yet he takes the time to look after the little guy. Jimmy Olsen is his best pal because he looks after him. He notices that he needs some help or something.
I think of him. I think Jimmy is more like a younger brother.
But like that wouldn't happen in Bruce Wayne's world.
No,
Bruce Wayne is waging war, and sometimes you don't necessarily see the little people that you started this for. You're waging war. You have your soldiers. Like, those kids are his soldiers.
Exactly.
And he views them as such.
I mean, the thing about...
Look how screwed up Jason Todd is. I wouldn't do a whole podcast on the...
If you've watched Titans, you see that Nightwing and Jason Todd are both pretty...
I have to confess... I have to make a confession at this point. Back in the 80s, I was one of those people that called in to kill Jason Todd. Okay. I made the phone call on the poll to kill Jason Todd. I'm sorry.
You know what? It was the right call at the time.
But here's the other thing about Superman, okay? The quintessential moment for each of these two heroes, okay? Omar's right. Bruce Wayne died in that alley. That was his changing moment. Okay, he was gone. He became Batman at that moment, or at least proto Batman at that point. Okay, Superman became Superman when his father died, not of the tornado, but had the heart attack, and he said, "With all my powers, I couldn't save him." That's when he became Superman, and that's when he became the hero.
Yeah,
and that's where I think we're missing with the cinematic side. Okay, you don't have Superman realizing he could have saved his father. He could have ran over there, grabbed him, and come back with his powers. He could have saved Jonathan.
Yeah.
Okay, that doesn't make him Superman. But when he died there, he's supposed to not be able to save him, and that because that humanized him. That one last moment, you didn't get that in that movie.
No. And I think. That's and I think Zack Snyder's done some great stuff, but that is not my favorite project of his, handling of that character. I think that he misses the tone and the spirit of what that character is.
Yeah, I mean, I think you look at Wonder Woman, okay, and I'm not talking about the latest one because I haven't seen it yet, so I can't honestly judge it. But you look at the first Wonder Woman, you feel like she's a hero.
Yes.
Okay. She's looking out for the little person. Okay. She's trying to stop war. Okay. Aquaman. Look at what happened in that film. Okay. Yeah, he doesn't. He's the reluctant hero. Yeah, he doesn't want to be. The
man does not Jason Momoa look good with water on him.
Yeah. And the fake muscles. Remember the fake muscles from the commercial.
Yeah. My girlfriend is a big Jason Momoa fan, and I sent her a text the other day. I was just like, "Aren't you so happy that your boyfriend looks just like Jason Momoa?" And she goes, "What?" And then I sent her a picture with no hair, and she's just like, "You're such an idiot."
Mark Lee, the other co-host of Saturday Morning Cartoons, apparently is friends with Jason.
Oh, yeah.
So
he's friends with everybody.
He is. He's friends with everybody. I am so jealous of Mark. But
Mark knows everybody.
He does. But you look at that. You look at Captain. You look at Shazam. Okay. So what do we have here? I mean, yeah, Shazam screwed up in the middle of the film because he was what? 15, 14-year-old boy. I mean, come on, every kid gets that power. They're going to want to do stuff like that, you know?
Yeah.
But at the end, he was looking out for family. He was looking out for other people. Okay. He wanted to take the fight somewhere else where people weren't going to get hurt. Okay. This is what DC always did, right? We don't kill anybody. We're trying to be heroic. We're trying to be something important. The Snyder stuff just doesn't feel heroic to me, you know? And that's my problem with it. I mean, I liked what he did with 300, but I just don't think he gets superheroes. Mm-hmm. You know,
I feel like he needs to have a lesson in the hero's journey, because he definitely misses some of the steps, and maybe that's why I didn't enjoy any of those movies. Like,
right.
Plus, like, Zack Snyder needs to get my message that dark doesn't necessarily mean dark. Like, turn a freaking light on.
Yeah, if somebody pay the electric bill on his films, will you?
Can I just see something? Like,
well, he spends it all in the slow motion, guys. Let's one or the other.
Well, I do want to know where the writers were in Batman v Superman, or Superman v Batman, whatever that one was called, because it seemed like I had a combination of like 5 different stories from the comics all trying to work their way through at the same time. And that
I do not like that movie, and quite honestly, the title just pisses me off even more. So it's like Batman v Superman. Like, just say it already. Just say versus. You know, you don't have to shorten a word that's already short.
Yeah, you're abbreviating an abbreviation.
Actually,
how edgy.
Yeah, right. But I mean, I will agree with Brian on a point, is that Affleck did a really good job as Batman. I'll give him credit on that one.
Yeah, I think so too. That's the closest I think we've gotten to like a superhero Batman. Like, I could see Ben Affleck facing off against like Clayface and Man-Bat and Mr. Freeze. I can't see Robert Pattinson, or for that matter, Christian Bale, facing off against those characters. Hell, I was shocked that they chose Bane for the last Nolan film. Because I was just like, that's a pretty wacky villain, man. Like,
I was kind of ticked when they did the whole Robert Pattinson Batman. I mean, I'm going to watch it. I'm going to give him, a chance, because the guy can act a little bit, but he just has bad choice in girlfriends. I just
don't y'all?
Nah, I did pretty good. I mean, look at my my wife. So,
I'm just saying I had some speed bumps before I found mine, is all.
Yeah, there you go. Same here. But all I can say is that I would love to have seen an actual Batman movie with Affleck, because here's another unpopular opinion. I actually liked him as Daredevil. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Jerome.
I think he did okay. I mean, it wasn't great, but he wasn't as horrible as people said he was.
But this is like the evolution of Ben Affleck too. Like, like, he is a much different actor than he was playing the Rats. Like,
I'll give you that. I'll give you that.
25 years ago versus who he can play now. I mean, what was the name of that movie, Brian? The basketball coach, and he was drinking the way back.
Oh, I never saw that one.
Yeah, that movie. Like, for me, that movie was like, if you could have taken every feeling he had about Jennifer Garner and his whole life falling apart then and sending him to rehab, like, that was that movie. Like, that was all of the emotion that he had to put into that. Like, that was where that came from. And I think it just made him a much better Batman.
Well, I thought he was pretty good as a CIA secret agent during the whole Contra one.
Yeah.
There
was that one movie where he played the autistic hitman. I love that. Like,
The Accountant,
Oh, that movie on Netflix.
That movie is amazing.
The movie on Netflix with Oscar Isaac and...
Oh, yeah, the Triple Frontier. That was good.
Yeah. So, like I said, I mean, I would love to have seen a Batman movie with him as Batman.
Yes.
Because I think he's one of those that could pull off Batman and Bruce Wayne.
Yes, I think...
I feel
he was probably the closest we'll get for a while.
Yeah, and I don't think Patterson's going. I mean, I don't think he's going to be horrible, because everybody keeps thinking of armored nipples. But I think Patterson is basically going to be. We're all just going to go, you know, when we see
Well,
it.
I think at this point we're kind of done with seeing like the brooding Batman.
Yeah.
The dark brooding. We want to see progression with the character instead of like, seeing the same storyline over and over. He loses his parents and becomes Batman. We want to see him, you know, already as Batman and fighting, you know, fighting alongside the police.
Yeah.
I'm ready for that kind of change, but at the same time, I think that, you know, there's nothing wrong with doing like a version of this. It feels very David Fincher-esque.
Mm-hmm.
It looks to be based, as far as I can tell, off of the Earth 1 continuity.
Okay.
Bat books, which were pretty dark, pretty scary in my opinion. Like I wouldn't be lending those to my kid anytime soon.
Right.
The one little snippet I saw was really it was very dark, and it was more of the detective type thing.
Well, and that's the thing.
Yeah.
Going back to kind of the roots of being that detective type comic, where it is more of a film noir kind of like feel.
And that's the thing that's been missing on all the Batmans from Keaton on is we've missed the fact that he's this Dark Knight detective. The detective part has been really missing. I mean, they made hints at it in Keaton. They've made hints at it in Nolan's stuff, but they never really did what needed to be done with that. Everything else was sort of handed to him on, you know, the villains handed themselves, you know, to him on a platter.
The only thing they really gave Keaton was the fact that he could look like he was contemplating something, like he was thinking through the different, you know, steps of catching whoever. Like I kind of felt like they at least gave him that.
Right.
But it fell short with everybody else. Like every single other person, like Val Kilmer and George Clooney and everybody.
I think that's a unique Michael Keaton skill though. Like the way that he acts with just facial expressions, like that scene in Spider-Man Homecoming in the car where like you can see
I was afraid
altogether just by like his eyebrow twitch and all this stuff. That's the best scene in the whole movie.
You know, listen. Like, as the father of a daughter, I'm going to be rewatching that scene for her big dates, so that, you know, when I'm driving, I can talk to him and basically tell him, you know, I will go back to jail, you know, that sort of thing, you know.
It's like,
you mean you're not going to do like the rocking chair and the shotgun bit?
Oh no. We don't have guns in my house. We have swords.
Ooh.
Yes.
So I figured
get medieval on them.
I figured that the sound of that steel going across that sharpening stone is much more frightening, you know, audio wise than me cleaning a gun. You know,
like into the room where they're all hanging on the wall. You know, like
the walls in the hallway look like something out of a medieval armory. Okay,
awesome.
Okay, that is awesome.
Okay, so I figure, you know, but I gotta memorize that whole Michael, because you're right. The way I watched that and I went, okay, I'm scared. I'm not even in the film and I'm already scared. You know,
playing in that one scene, you have like the John Hughes, like I'm taking, you know, here's this girl. She's so happy. She's on a date with the guy that she really likes going to homecoming. Then you have like the father kind of like cross interrogating Peter. And then all of a sudden
he's a serial killer.
To like, this is the kid I've been trying to kill. And he's right here.
Yeah.
Like I got him. And it's so tense.
You can't kill him. You can't kill him right there because his daughter, you know, was, you know, nearby, and
and it's very minimal dialogue. You get all that just from Michael Keaton, looking into his rearview mirror, and that's the kind of thing he did for Batman. Also, like you could tell he was working everything out in his brain. Right, that's the vibe he gave off. And to Nicole's credit, what she was saying before. No other Batman's been able to really do that. Christian Bale was dark and brooding, but he just gave all the work over to Morgan Freeman and had him make the stuff and be the detective.
Right, and that was the thing. Is most of these guys are almost a one-note Batman. You know, You watch the Christian Bale Batman, and I just never felt like he was figuring out what was going on. Everything was actually handed to him. The villains came to him instead of the other way around.
I kind of look forward to any reiteration they can do just to laugh at it.
Well, see, yeah, I'm just about done seeing them do another Batman film. I want to see them, actually more so, get together the Justice League and let's see what we can do with them as a full team.
I'm waiting for the Booster Gold film.
Yes. And Ted Cord Blue Beetle.
Okay, now wait a minute. Now here's the thing.
Okay, that has to be a buddy cop film, though.
Well, that if you do Blue Beetle and Booster Gold, but if you go back to the early days of Booster, the very first issues, okay, he was a corporate hack.
Oh yeah,
he was selling himself. I mean, he's the type of guy that would put the logos on his uniform type of thing, which they made jokes of in Mystery Men. But I would like to see that sort of Booster Gold. I agree with the buddy cop is Blue Beetle, and you got to have the Ted Cord Blue Beetle, not the kid that they've got now. Yeah, that's
still the comic death that hurts me the most. I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That story, that Infinite Crisis story, came out almost right after I had been done reading the formerly known as the Justice League.
Yep.
I can't believe it's and I was so bought into these characters at that point. Like I was ready to tell the world that Blue Beetle was my favorite comic book superhero, and they shoot him in the damn head.
Yeah.
Like next issue that I read from the comic store, I'm like broken. I was like, what happened? Why?
I was fortunate. The 1980 Blue Beetles, those Blue Beetle comics. I was fortunate. I have those signed by Len Wein.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, that was a coup. And when Booster first came out, and Dan Jurgens was doing the comic book tour to promote Booster, because remember, this was before Dan was a really super big name. I managed to get a page out of one of the an original piece from one of those because Dan couldn't change his flat tire. I ended up changing it for him. So I got one of the original pieces from Booster Gold 1.
Nice. That's amazing.
Yeah. So Booster Gold I've always loved Booster. They've always had a problem figuring out the character, especially at one point where he loses the limb in Action Comics in the 90s. And I think the biggest thing on Booster is you got to realize this is a guy who was basically destroyed because of stupid decisions in his life for the right reasons, but he made the wrong decisions.
Yeah.
And he's coming back trying to redeem himself. And because he doesn't know 20th century or now 21st century culture, he thinks everything is about the corporate, buck, because that's the way he read it, saw it in the museum he was a guard at. And I think that's kind of how they got to play him. It's sort of that fish out of water hero trying to redeem himself.
Yeah, exactly. Almost like a comedy version of a superhero too.
Yeah. But remember, he is a hero. He does heroic stuff. He's just trying to figure out where he went wrong and why he did it and everything else. And that could be a really strong film, I think.
And the way they portrayed him in the Justice League was just perfect, though. Just I love that cartoon.
Oh yeah.
And
I love the kid. Booster Gold. I thought you were Green Lantern.
Oh, that was a episode.
Oh,
I haven't seen it, Brian. I still have. I've been busy with life, and
I have one streaming service right now, and that's Netflix. And even I don't really turn that on.
I made the mistake of watching Invincible with my girlfriend, so now I have to wait for her. So I'm 2 episodes behind. But so far,
how many did we watch? What, 3 episodes? So I don't know if he's watched the episodes because Lord only knows. But I was pleasantly surprised at how much I liked it.
Yeah. I'm behind on a lot of stuff simply really because I work third shift.
Now, how about Falcon and Winter Soldier? Have you guys been watching that?
I haven't seen it yet.
Yesterday.
I've been following the details on Facebook, unfortunately.
Right.
Well,
I cried in that episode.
I read the comics back in the 80s of when Steve Rogers quit being Captain America to become Nomad, and how U.S. Agent was brought in and everything else. So I know where we're headed, supposedly, if they follow the comics with U.S. Agent. Which, by the way, the Nomad series in the comics is pre-Edna Mode, where you learn about no capes.
Yes,
because
true.
Okay,
True.
He falls over himself stopping the villains because of the cape he put on him, and the villains stop running away because they can't help but laughing so hard because he falls over on his own cape. He trips up.
And this, my superhero version would not have a cape.
Well, he ripped off the cape and he didn't have it after that.
Or heels. No heels either.
Oh my God.
Oh no, heels are perfect because there's a lot of damage you can do with heels.
Yeah,
okay.
All I'm picturing is American made.
And you notice she used that like a boomerang, those heels,
It's all well and good until you have to chase the villain up some stairs, and then all of a sudden they're getting away.
No. Then like every woman will tell you, if they have to, they can kick off those heels fairly quickly.
Yeah, but see, my thing is I don't know. I think I'd just be barefoot. Like I can do better in bare feet than I can do anything else because I really.
I want to know. When did Batgirl start wearing combat boots? Okay, because if you look at some of those comics,
the 90s,
she's wearing combat boots, and I'm just kind of going, I've worn combat boots, man. Those things are heavy. You can't swing from building to building in those combat boots.
But if you're strong enough, you can pack quite a punch with something very, very
So all in that rigorous training.
Yeah.
Having been hit with a shoe or two in my motherhood.
My mother hit me with a wooden spoon. But anyways, what's the question?
Omar, the most important question. Will this Friday the 13th lawsuit ever end?
What Friday the 13th?
There is a light at the end of the tunnel. So the rights to Friday the 13th have been tied up for quite some time. It's
the movie or the TV show?
Gotten a sequel or anything since the remake, I think in 2006 or 8, somewhere around there.
Okay.
2008.
And
right? 2009.
2009. Yeah, so it's a reason we haven't gotten a sequel since then, or really any new DVD or Blu-ray releases until just recently. Last year, they finally came to an agreement, at least on releasing a brand new box set for it, because for a long time, all those movies were out of print. You could not get them. You couldn't get certain documentaries. Now those things are available. If you, Will and I were talking about my latest obsession, which are these Toonie Terror action figures. They have the rights to produce Jason. Mortal Kombat featured him in a game. So they're kind of slowly letting things go. So I can only hope that means that the lawsuit will get settled up pretty soon. But right when that one ends, we got the Predator one against Disney now. The original writers of Predator are suing Disney for the rights back to Predator, which I think that's a weird way to do it.
Yeah.
I don't know if
it's. I'll tell you
the right thing. More like, hey, you have this thing that you're not using. Can you?
Well, I talked with Marv Wolfman about Blade, because he sued about when the Blade movie came out. And there was controversy about this, and he just said, "Look, it's nothing personal. It's just part of the business that they're in, because of rights and creativity and all that." He says, "If you take it personally, then you shouldn't be in this type of business." He's saying that the lawsuits are just part of what's going on. Just deal with it as part of what you have to do for daily business. But so this Friday the 13th, are they releasing Jason 10? Because I love Jason in Outer Space. That was hysterical.
Yes, so it's all part of the current Scream Factory box set. It's a gorgeous box set. I literally have it like right over here.
Yeah, I just recently, back in October, I believe, bought the box set of Friday the 13th. So
Ryan got it for his birthday in October. We got it for Christmas because I bought it.
Does it come with a mask?
Oh,
it doesn't come with a mask. Oh, this way.
Yeah, that's right. Towards your microphone. There you go.
Yeah. Okay. And then
double screen.
You'll see all the all
the
different versions in there.
Wait a minute, 3D. Does it come with glasses?
No, it's the real 3D version.
Yes.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
So
interesting.
You'll watch on your 3D TV.
I love you, but I don't know.
I love this box set. I think it's amazing. And I have recently watched Jason X, Jason's Face for like 2 days ago. So good.
Okay, fine.
My favorite Jason movies are the ones that Kane Hodder as Jason. So
yes, I mean everybody loves Kane, right?
I mean, I love Kane Hodder. Like he is my favorite person at a convention.
If you guys have Amazon Prime, all of the Hatchet movies are on there, and Kane plays the killer in that. In all 4 of those movies, he plays Victor Crowley, which is like the one figure that eludes me right now out of this friggin' Terror line. I can't find it. It's supposedly out there.
Victor Crowley?
Yeah, it's supposedly out there. I haven't seen him in person.
I always look, and I've been trying to get Oliver to be interested in those too because he likes the Nika figures.
Yeah.
The $30 ones that are like, dude, there's like 600 pieces and they're $30. Like, you're killing me.
I know at least these guys are like $13-14, and they like meld my love of horror and my love of Scooby-Doo into like the perfect thing. So I'm really enjoying those.
Okay, so I'm dying over here because like Brian told me something that I'm kind of mad about. And I don't know if everybody else is mad. So if you've watched Falcon and the Winter Soldier, there's a scene that has to do with the previous.
By all means, ruin it for me. I'll watch it eventually.
And I've
like previous super soldiers that got the serum, but you know, all tested on and everything.
Yeah.
And there's a whole race thing that's involved.
Oh yeah, they did that back
in the comic books as well.
Yeah, they did that with they went over that pretty heavily in the comics.
So I guess they were really angry that they had to smack people in the face with it. And I sat and I watched. Okay, I'm white. I get it, but I watched it and I thought it was beautifully done. I didn't think it was smacking me in the face about racism at all. I felt like
you did a great job.
I really felt like they talked about it, and I don't feel like they talked about it really. I think they did it a lot with his facial expressions and his contemplation of taking the shield and what happens next, and while he's training and talking to Bucky and all of these things. I think they kind of really brought it together, and I kind of like there's a scene where he is holding the shield and his nephew is tracing the star.
Yeah.
I started to cry. I'm like, I'm the biggest baby. Of course I'm the biggest baby, but I started to cry and I'm like, that right there is, and he looked down at his nephew and he smiled. And that's kind of when you know he really is going to take the shield. He's going to become something that we all know he should because he should. And I love Wyatt Russell. Let me tell you, he played the best.
Oh, he's
such a good villain. Such a good villain, but he was amazing. But he's a douchebag. And I didn't really like John Walker. So I was like, come on, Sam Wilson is my favorite, new favorite. He's my new favorite. And so I just thought that whole scene kind of built this idea that, being American is taking up the mantle and letting a lot of that other stuff go to prove that you are capable and willing. Like we are part of that. And I think it directly contrasts what Carly is saying with the GRC and all that, this is about the people we left behind. Well, I don't know about a bigger group of people that we left behind.
Right.
I think they do a really good job in the show to give you two different sides of the same coin, right? Like understand where Isaiah Bradley is coming from when he says no self-respecting black man would take that shield.
Right.
But then you understand Bucky, you understand Sam and his family, and you get why he probably should take the shield. And it's an interesting dynamic because going into the final episode of this thing, he could pick up the shield and he could not. I think I'd be okay with either because they've made it justifiable either way.
Right.
And that's brilliant, man. The way that they're setting these things up, these are the best Lego builders I've ever seen. Kevin Feige and his team are doing an incredible job of setting things up for the future.
My favorite line was, if Steve was wrong about you, then he's wrong about me. Right.
I love that.
And then Sam's response to that, he says, it's not about you. He says, you have to stop waiting for people to tell you who you should be. And I think there was a lot of growth in both characters, because I think he looked at him and said, I didn't realize that this was a whole race thing. I didn't know there was a thing. Like I didn't realize that. And I said, because Brian was like, what do you think about that? I said, you have to think about perspective being 2020. It's like, I think that if you were Bucky and Steve Rogers at that moment in time, they probably didn't really think about race because you were brothers in arms. Like you were, it didn't, I don't want to say
the military life is different than civilian life.
Your family.
Correct.
So,
Yeah.
I wasn't going to leave you behind. It didn't matter who you were.
Yeah.
So like their mentality of that isn't the same as, so like for Bucky to say that, he was like, I really didn't think it was a thing. Like, and that is important. Like a lot of people don't understand why it has to be a thing. Like why do you continue to make it a thing?
Right. One of what was it, Omar? Was it the 2000s that they brought out the first Black Captain America, where they sort of showed who he was before Steve Rogers took it? Was it then?
It was early 2000s. I want to say 1 or 2, maybe. It could
right.
be a little later. The miniseries was called Truth.
Thank you. That's I couldn't remember what it was called.
Yeah,
and they beat you about they beat you about the head really hard on this.
Oh, they pulled no punches in that miniseries. Yeah. It was one of the first like complete miniseries that I actually went out and bought myself and followed all the way through. Yeah. They were not gun shy.
Yeah,
and Marvel's always been a little better at attempting to talk about those things.
Well, actually, in this case, I think it was basically because Marvel had basically got new leadership. Okay, at around that time, and that was important.
Quesada was taking over. Am I right?
Yeah.
So
yes, because he wouldn't come up to Boston for the convention shortly after 9/11. Yes, that's right. The Quesada, I think, is overstayed, but that's another subject for there. But yeah, Quesada wasn't pulling punches. You look at the Marvel Max stuff and all that other stuff. They openly talked heavily about race at that time. Mm-hmm. DC did it back in the 70s and 60s when the whole civil rights was going on. They talked it really heavily. Look at Green Arrow and Green Lantern series that Adams and O'Neill did. But they didn't talk about what they did with Marvel, what Marvel did, which was, I think, a lot more powerful than what Adams and O'Neill did.
I think O'Neill was kind of like the lone soldier on the hill for DC for a long time. He wasn't afraid to broach certain topics.
I'm not laughing at what you're saying here, Omar. My daughter just snuck in and grabbed the potato chips and then snuck out.
That's the way to do it.
Daddy was busy, so she snuck in.
Cut it short, but I have to go to a Zoom meeting for my tutoring job, so I totally.
Oh, wait, you got to go do real life stuff.
Yeah, no. I got to do that pesky thing called work.
Oh, but yeah, okay. Bye, Nicole.
Bye.
Bye.
Nice hanging out with you again.
I think Marvel. Yeah, there you go. I think Marvel gets points for that. I think though, what they and again, this is because I've lived white privilege. I won't deny that, I am not there, but I mean, I've also been in environments that most haven't. The whole aspect is that subtlety doesn't work on people.
Yes.
And Marvel had to be unsubtle. Okay.
Yeah.
They had been subtle for years with the relationship between Rogers and Wilson in the cat, for years. And it nobody noticed it. Nobody noticed that Sam was basically a sidekick. If he had been a teenager, nobody would have blinked twice.
Right. Exactly.
And so with what they did with the Truth, they had to show that, because wasn't that also the time that the Tuskegee experiment was coming out?
Yes, and you start to realize what they were doing to our own soldiers.
Right.
And that's stuff that still goes on to this day. My nurse.
Yeah.
I guess I could call her my nurse. She's more of a friend at this point. Tells me about all these, drugs and stuff that they've been testing on them, and all of the people that she was working with at that time, they're coming up with
the
stuff. It's crazy.
Right. The Tuskegee experiment, for those who don't know, was basically doctor and nurse and some government officials were basically not curing men of color of syphilis. They were doing, was it a double blind, or was it just, they just were letting the disease go and seeing what happened, if I remember right.
I think
I'd have to look it up.
You're
right. And this was thousands of African-American men. And it finally came out, I think, when one of the people involved died and sort of left all the notes to their family, and their family went, "Oh my God." And it was revealed. And so I think that had a huge impact on the Truth coming on the miniseries, to the Truth coming out, because I think they wanted to respond to it and talk about it. And I think it was good. The problem is that it came out around 9/11. And so now they weren't talking about the Truth, which should have been a major event that people were talking about.
Yeah.
I mean, Captain America being an agent of Hydra got more press than this book did. And this book should have gotten huge press.
Right.
And that's the thing. And I think that's if Marvel was smart, they would reissue this book, with some press releases.
That they didn't.
Yeah.
I'm so shocked they didn't. They've been ahead of the curve with all these miniseries as far as like reissues and stuff for just about everything,
And I think the reason they're tap dancing is because they're owned by Disney.
Yeah.
Because Disney allowed them to explore this in the show.
Yeah, because it's a streaming service, you can get away, and it makes it edgier. But they didn't beat you over the head with it like they did in Truth. Okay.
Right.
It was a far more subtle hint. And most people have missed it. They're not talking about what we're discussing. If you look at social media, the discussion about what we're talking about here, not being talked about at all. At least the social media I'm in. Okay. It was almost as if it's a throwaway. They're more concerned about what Walker did with the shield and the blood on the shield.
Right.
Okay. Than they are about the race discussion. Okay. And that's where the real discussion should be, more so than the violence.
I agree.
I agree. But again, like I said, the American public, subtlety doesn't work. You got to hit them over the head. And as a Star Trek fan, I can tell you that with the episode "Let This Be Your Last Battlefield."
Yes.
Okay. People complain that it was basically ham-fisted. Well, the American public needs to be hit hard sometimes. Okay.
Yeah.
And that's what that's my complaint about. I've heard about this. I'm going to watch it when it's done so I can binge it. But I just haven't had time due to the fact that as a third shift worker, I'm trying to catch up on sleep every time I work 10 hours a day. So for me, it's like sleep as much as I can. Mm-hmm. Well, this is my adult time, by the way.
Luckily, it's a six episode mini series, and it ends next week, so you'll be able to binge it all.
Catch up, and
that's pretty much what I'm planning on doing. So, but somebody asked about
credit scenes. So
oh yeah. Well, it's Marvel. You would do that. Yeah. Somebody was asking about what I thought about Loki. the Loki upcoming Loki episode. I'm of two minds of that. Because basically it's gonna remind me a bit of Umbrella Academy, you know, where you know we go and make sure history keeps doing what it's supposed to do. Time, you know, what is it? There was a TV show in the 80s called Voyagers. Did the same idea, you know. It's a case of or what was the other? There was Time Cop, you know, the TV show Time Cop.
Yeah.
Where they did that sort of thing. I just don't see the need to do that sort of show with superheroes. You want to do that, create an agency like S.H.I.E.L.D. where you can do a lot more fun with that. You know, you can bring some of the Shields, bring Darcy in, which, by the way, I've become a huge fan of that actress and sort of have a crush on her.
That is my hall pass right there.
Yeah, that's your. They also call them the runaway girl, the one your runaway girl.
I've had a thing for Kat Dennings for a long time, so
yeah, you know,
that's my hall pass.
Yeah. Oh, mine. I actually got to meet my hall pass.
Oh, did you?
Yes, I got her autograph.
Nice.
I met Terry Hatcher before Housewives.
Nice.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. You never meet your hall pass. Trust me.
I think I'm best at keeping Nathan Fillion at arm's length right now.
But I'm hoping they bring Kate Dennings into some more. I really liked her character. I think the sassy scientist is needed more so than what they've had.
I was all in for this like internet thread of having her and
Jimmy
Woo character.
Yeah, I agree. I think
do like an X-Files for Marvel. I was just like, please.
It would be interesting. Like I like the thing is, like, I loved X-Files for what it was, and like the first like 2 or 3 seasons where they were like bouncing off each other, being funny.
Yeah, and then when they did that whole romance thing, I went, yeah, you're done.
Yeah. Well, hopefully, you know, history's learned from its mistakes and turn out something better.
The issue we have is when a show like the X-Files, like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and all that, there's always like that, you know, that shipping fandom thing where we want to get all the characters together. And
yeah, but you know what? At some point, these people have to look at the fans and go, no, it ain't gonna happen. So stop asking. You know,
it's like we're writing a good show right here. Leave us alone.
Yeah. Doing those characters. I'm not sure those two can hold a series as leads. I mean, look at her with what was that? 2 Broke Girls. You know, wasn't that great?
That show.
Yeah, you're not missing much.
It was a good show for the first 2 seasons, and then I had to stop watching.
Yeah. You know, I definitely see them more as the R2-D2 and 3PO of the Marvel universe.
Yes.
So have them as characters throughout all the shows.
That's excellent. Like a Rosencrantz and Guildenstern.
Guildenstern, yeah.
Excellent.
Or who dies off screen in Henry V is anyway, I can't think of his name now. But the point is I want these two as, you know, supporting characters throughout all the shows.
Yeah.
I think they would be stronger that way than being, you know, the leads.
I can see that. I could definitely see that.
You know, and you know, it would definitely play to their strengths. You know, the characters.
Nice.
I don't watch a whole lot of doctor shows. Like I loved House, but it's the thing that bugged me is when you get, you know, past a certain stage and all the characters start sleeping with each other, and it's like,
no, I'm done with that. You know,
it's like they take away from the actual nuance of the show and start focusing more on the characters getting together. And I just I can't do that if they're going to turn Marvel characters into, you know, bickering couples.
Right. That's why I like, you know, like the Capaldi version of the Doctor. It was more like fun adventures, and they were quippy.
Yeah.
And there wasn't like a romantic,
side
story involved in it. And I could honestly see this as being that, with maybe Darcy being like the know-it-all one and Jimmy Woo being the guy who's just like, I guess if that's what you say is happening, I'm along for the ride.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
like I want it, like if they're gonna if the main focus is trying to figure out where like all these like happenstances are coming from, like people seeing like the Marvel monsters, like bringing that into the fold. Like I would love to see an investigation team, you know, trying to figure out where these monsters.
I have a great comedy.
All the jokes when they discover Man-Thing.
Oh yeah, forget Man-Thing. Where's Mole Man? You know, I mean, think about those. But here's the one that I want you to now. Omar, being a comic book guy, you obviously know these old ones from the 80s. I want them to do Damage Control.
Yes.
That would be hysterical.
Now, wasn't I had heard a rumor that the Vulture's team in Homecoming was supposed to be Damage Control, but they pulled back at the last minute.
I think that, they were supposed to actually do a Damage Control series. It was going to be like a 5 episode thing or whatever, and it got canned. I don't know why, but
you know what I bet it was, because DC had released a similar show with Vanessa Hudgens and Ron Funches.
Oh yeah, Powers? No, not Powers.
That was very similar. Powerless, maybe?
Powerless, there you go. And I mean, Powerless was cute for the first 2 or 3 episodes, and then it just went downhill fast.
They just couldn't find their footing, but I think that the idea was solid.
Well, what they were doing was they were a weapons developer, basically.
Right.
Damage Control is
weren't they?
Yeah, they worked for Wayne Tech. Damage Control is the company that rebuilds all the buildings and the bridges and the roads and everything else. After the heroes have had their fights. And the book was hysterical. The comic book was hysterical about some of the stuff going on. Like, oh God, the Hulk's been around again. All right, Fred, you get, it was just like, they're just kind of like going, oh man, no, I wanted it to be quiet today at work.
See, if they would have made Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. that would have been an awesome show.
But that was the whole point of Damage Control. It was basically a look at, how do you who rebuilds the city?
Yeah.
Who's the everyman?
Yeah. And I love that. And then Marvel also did one that I think you guys, with what you're talking about with like Man-Thing and all that, and they did a character back in the Howard the Duck days, basically Night Nurse. And what it was that this nurse is working the ER in one of the New York City, and they're getting all either the victims of the monsters and the vampires and the werewolves, all the horror side, but they would occasionally get the victims, the collateral damage from some of the hero fights. And this nurse is basically the head nurse or whatever, and she's sort of having to going, really, Captain America couldn't have took this fight 3 streets over. He had to fight in front of the orphanage, that sort of thing. And that's kind of what I'm hoping for, is that sort of show, because like you said, we want the everyman. Okay.
Yeah.
We've done the heroes. We've done the heroes now for what, 15 odd years with the MCU, and since the 90s with Batman, and onward with Marvel. I mean, DC, if you even go back to Christopher Reeve, when heroes were actually decent.
Yeah.
His Clark Kent, just perfection.
It was perfect. But
the way he hunches his shoulders and stuff, the best.
Yeah, and the way he fumbled around a lot. But my point is you want that. You want to see the story of, and I use a Star Trek references, Lower Decks.
Yes.
The guy who's down there mopping the floor, and they did this in Babylon 5 also, which is, you got the guys who are just trying to do a day's work, and they're sort of touched by the greatness around them every so often.
Jerome, there was a web show called Brain Fart. Wow. Kind of dealing with cleaning up the aftermath of like the Starship, kind of like the guys cleaning up the Starship Enterprise stuff. And
I've seen that type of show.
What I love about Star Trek as a whole is that just about every single series, it's so self-aware. There's usually an episode like that where you look at an everyman's point of view as he deals with Commander Data or Riker or somebody. And there's
I think
also
that's
a
why I
book-
like DS9 too. Was
That's exactly why I like DS9 actually, is because every once in a while we get an episode of, Quark at his bar.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean,
and-
I was not as big of a fan for DS9 because there was other issues, which I'm sure another show we could discuss this on. But I did like the episode Lower Decks in Next Gen. I've only seen 5 episodes of the new cartoon, but I found it incredibly funny.
Yeah, cartoon's funny. It's much better than I thought it was going to be.
And as some people said, it's more Star Trek than Discovery and Picard is. If you look at it,
Yes.
I could see that, but then so is the Orville. So
yeah, again, another show we can talk about the Orville. But I have to say that I mean, you didn't see it in the original series for a lot of reasons, or even in the animated. It mainly showed up in the later the later shows. I think that aspect is that because that lower deck person we can all identify with.
Mm-hmm.
None of us are the heroes. Let's be honest. I mean, we're the heroes in our own story, but that's about it.
I didn't have the grades to be on the bridge.
I had the grades. I had the grades. I just didn't have the body.
I could most definitely take orders from Scotty, or be in engineering, maybe sanitation.
I wasn't the player that Kirk was.
Right. We all want to be. There's a really great book from, I think it's John Scalzi, called Red Shirts.
Yes, and I've read it, and I've got it signed by him.
It's so good. It's so funny. It's so self-aware.
And it's
about
actually
these guys who are like, why is it that every time we go off ship, one of us dies, but you idiots come back? No. I'm not doing it this time. And it's literally them avoiding work.
Right.
Like
Two things.
Most of the book.
Red Shirts is the funny thing, even though it's Star Trek, like it was actually based on his experience on Stargate.
Oh, really?
Okay. Yeah, he worked on Stargate. But there's actual statistical analysis that they did of the original series, is that because there's so many more red shirts than gold shirts, that's why the red shirts, statistically die more. But if you're if you break it down to departments, the gold shirts actually die more per person than the red shirts. And they said, it all comes down to how you break down the numbers.
You are shattering my world right now.
Right. But they said the surefire way to make sure you don't die is 1, never leave the ship, and 2, make sure the captain gets laid.
Oh,
okay.
And,
the captain.
And I thought it was you had to have a name.
No. They killed guys off with names. Okay, but if the captain had sex, there was hardly any deaths on that episode. Okay, I'll have to find it, Omar, and I'll have to send it to you. The statistical.
Please do.
I used it in my stats class as an example of fun things you can do with stats.
Okay. Oh wow.
I think one of the funniest bits talking about if you had to have a name was in Galaxy Quest with Sam Rockwell's.
Do you know my name?
Like, you have a name, guy. Like,
I'm the guy who dies to show how serious it is.
Like, his name is literally Guy. It's the most generic name possible.
I was fortunate enough. I was fortunate enough to meet the writer of Galaxy Quest when he won the Hugo in Chicago.
Oh, really?
And, oh, yeah.
I love that movie.
And he told me that when I was having a chance to talk with him in the hallway with me and 7 other people, and there's a reason for that 7 number to be talked about, because he had met with that same conversation. He met the guy who created Men in Black, and the writer of Galaxy Quest also wrote the Men in Black 2 movie. And so a lot of people were saying that they were there when he met him, and I'm like, no, you weren't. There were only 7 of us. So, I know who was there.
That's so old West of you. It's right out of like The Quick and the Dead. Is just like, it's funny. I was there. I was the one who killed him, like Gene Hackman.
Yeah. So one of the things he told me though was he said the most surreal thing is you got to remember was that when they filmed the convention scene in Galaxy Quest, that's actually a creation con.
Oh, is it really?
Okay. Yes.
I knew it had to be a convention.
It was
existing one.
All right, and basically what they did was they got rid of all the Star Trek banners and they put all the Galaxy quests up and they, because if you look carefully in the background, you still see a lot of people wearing Star Trek shirts.
Okay.
Yeah.
And one of the things that he said he was doing was at one point he sat down at what was supposed to be a dealer's table and he was handwriting scene changes, line changes at a Galaxy Quest convention for a Galaxy Quest movie on Galaxy Quest stationery. He just goes, it was way too surreal for him, But yeah, that's basically what it was.
Awesome.
That's incredible.
So yeah, Galaxy Quest, a great Star Trek film.
Yeah,
it is. I think it's one of the strongest ones.
Yeah. What's funny though is that I had a chance to at a convention that about 4 months after Galaxy Quest came in, I was at a convention with Leonard Nimoy, and I had a chance to ask him about what he thought of Galaxy Quest because let's be honest, Tim Allen is Shatner. Just portrayed Shatner perfectly.
Absolutely.
He can say what he wants. He's definitely Shatner.
Right. Well, Leonard Nimoy said he almost got thrown out of the theater.
Because he was laughing so hard, or
because he was laughing so hard. He was laughing so hard. He almost got thrown out because you're talking to the guy who wore the ears, and Alan Rickman wore that hat.
I heard a interview one time. I think it was George Takei saying that he went and saw it with Patrick Stewart. I think they went and saw it together,
and they were both dying.
And they were both dying. They were just like, "This is one of the funniest movies ever made." And that's the best compliment you can get, right?
Oh yeah, especially for that film.
It can't be better.
Wow.
Yeah, and what was funny was that shortly after that film came out, it was at this convention with both George and Leonard, and they had just signed on to do the Futurama episode where no man has gone before.
I love it.
And I asked George about, how do you feel about being basically a head in a jar? And he looks at Leonard and he goes, "I'm a head in a jar? Nobody told me this." So George had never seen the show.
That's awesome.
God. That's awesome.
Yeah. So yeah, that it is funny though, some of the things that they've done. But back to the MCU, I really want to see that everyman aspect. I was kind of disappointed that Jarvis for an Iron Man was this robot, was this AI.
Right.
I really wanted the butler.
How interesting would that have been if it was just
there was a Jarvis. There was a Jarvis in Agent Carter.
Right. And he actually shows up in the Endgame.
Yeah, he does. But it's not the same.
No, at that point, we've established that Jarvis is an AI, so that was kind of an afterthought, right?
Yeah, I mean, how many of us wanted the slightly overweight British guy with the balding head as
right, but he still had like the but he looked like if I let it go.
Yeah. And basically, he's the butler that can kick ass too, because he has been known to beat up on some villains, But I was just that. That's a nit, But we'll see what happens.
Speaking of the butler that beats up on everyone, I am not in favor of making Alfred such a badass.
Oh yeah, I agree.
Like, okay, I'm aware that he was a military medic and he knows his shit, but it seems like every iteration he's like Rambo. Like he's slowly becoming like he starts off as First Blood, where it's just some guy with PTSD who's like setting traps in the woods, and he's slowly ramping up to like roided out like Rambo 2, ripping dudes' throats out kind of guy. And I'm just afraid for what's coming after Robert Pattinson's Batman.
Well,
that guy's gonna be like Bane.
Right. I think the thing about what I really expected out of Alfred was Alfred's the father he never had. Okay. Yeah. Because of whatever. But teaching him, Alfred also teaches him the medical side, the positive of the value of life. Okay. Right. And it's when Bruce goes off to learn the martial arts that he becomes the badass. And Alfred shouldn't be the guy teaching him how to fight.
Right, right. Like there was a rumor for a little while that the part of Alfred was going to go to Pierce Brosnan And while at first I was just like, well, that was my Bond growing up. That maybe, but then I was like, no, Alfred shouldn't be Bond.
Yeah, but I mean, I could see like an older Pierce Brosnan. I could see it.
See, and then there's me. I kind of like the aspect of Alfred being, ex British intelligence.
But see, that's the problem I have with that. He's not supposed to be ex British intelligence. He's a guy who saved lives. He's a combat medic.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
He knew how to deal with a bullet wound. He knew how to deal with a sucking chest wound. For guys who got shot or blown up. Okay,
right.
And he
shouldn't be Sean Connery.
Right. He's the voice. He's the voice of reason. If you watch and you read he's always the guy going, "Do you really want to do this, Master Bruce? I mean, do you really want to do this? You're going to kill somebody if you do this." Right. And Batman goes, "All right, maybe I am." And that's what he should be. He should be his conscience almost. He's Jimmy Cricket.
Yes. I thought they were going to try to make him more like Q. From the Bond series, where it's like he makes all these tech and then he's giving Bruce Wayne shit for destroying all this.
But again, that takes him away from basically the source material. Okay.
Yeah.
Alfred makes sure that the Wayne identity works, as you saw in one of them, where it's like, oh, you've got all these bruises. Okay. You need to start taking up a sport to justify these bruises.
Yeah, like a very
polo's a good one.
Sport.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And again,
I think Michael Caine was such a great Alfred. In that sense, because he filled all those roles.
Right.
We were talking about the Earth 1 comics earlier, and them being that Alfred is literally Sean Connery.
Yeah.
And can you imagine that Scottish accent, like barking orders at you all the time? No wonder Bruce Wayne is screwed up. Like,
but that's the whole point, though, is that Alfred takes care of the Bruce Wayne identity, and he feeds Batman and makes sure that Batman keeps his humanity. Okay, in all these later editions from Gotham and some of the later, Alfreds and some of the books now that they're doing is. Alfred's not doing that anymore. He's making him into Batman instead of pulling him back, saying, keep your humanity. Don't become that thing you hate.
Right. He's enabling him.
Right. He's saying, be merciful, be generous, and that you're not seeing that with Alfred, and Alfred's that voice of reason more than anybody else. They don't talk about Leslie, the doctor who's, basically, was basically the feminine touch that he needed when he was younger. They don't talk about that in the movies very much. They talked about it pretty heavily.
Character.
Yeah, they talked real heavily about that in the animated series.
Mm-hmm.
But I think you're looking at the aspects of these directors. They want to go dark because they want to be shown as serious, and it's like, no, you don't have to. You don't have to do Batman in the middle of the night. Yeah, okay, whatever. Bruce Wayne walking around at noontime collecting data, collecting clues like he's looking at a piece of real estate works also, you know?
Yeah, it's it seems like they keep wanting to give him more of a reason for being messed up, right? Like it's Rob Zombie's Halloween.
Yeah.
Like Rob Zombie's just like, well, the reason Michael Myers is like this, he came from a trailer park trash family and all this. It's like, no, you don't really need. He was messed up.
Yeah.
You showed him kill his sister in the opening act.
That's good enough.
That's good enough. He's Michael Myers. With Batman, it's like he saw his parents die in the alleyway. That's enough.
Right in front of him. Right in front of him.
Like, you don't need like Alfred feeding him rats in the cave or whatever other Frank Miller garbage probably gets thrown out there to just like edge him up even more. It's just like he's edgy.
Exactly. In the new Batman, I would like to see, Arkham Asylum be less, capable of people escaping.
I think Arkham Asylum. I think Arkham Asylum has a revolving door for their front entrance, just so that people can come in and out.
It's starting to look like the Winnipeg justice system. Nobody
have
goes
to
to
agree.
jail.
I mean, Arkham is sort of like become a resort. Yeah, I'm going to check into Arkham for a couple of weeks. Get some sun, maybe have some meals and catered to me, do some room service, and then I think I'll go beat up on Batman for about a week and a half after that.
I just want like one throwaway line where Batman's coming back to Wayne Manor, and Alfred's is like, okay, so Joker's tucked safely away at Arkham, and goes, yeah, until Friday.
Yeah, I think they did that. I think they've done that in the comic books a couple of times.
Just one line. That's all I need.
Yeah, I just Arkham is like, why are you even bothering?
Yeah.
It's just
Like we need to shift focus away from Arkham Asylum being this resort, as you put it, and have more focus on like them, like the jail being. Like there needs to be a separation between Arkham Asylum and the jail.
Well, one of the things they used to do in some of the stuff was basically going, no, you're not mentally sick. You're just trying to dodge. You're going to jail.
Yeah.
You're going to the jail. Okay, yeah, you're the Mad Hatter. Guess what? You ain't that mad. Okay, you're slightly annoyed. So we're going to throw you in the slammer for a while. And you put the really sick ones like the Joker and a few others in Arkham. And that makes much more sense instead of
Croc in Arkham Asylum. Like what?
Yeah.
And I was actually thinking about this, and I might actually consider writing this as more of a fanfic, but having like the Suicide Squad become somewhat more of an agency where they actually go out and try to find more of these.
You definitely need to go read the 1980s version of Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
Because that's basically what that was.
Yeah.
Okay. And the problem I have with the current Suicide Squad and perhaps the depiction of Waller throughout all of the live action, not the comics, not the cartoons, but the live action is she's not scary enough.
Yeah.
Okay. In the comics and even in the animation, Waller scares the hell out of you, is supposed to. She gives you a look and you're peeing your pants because you're so scared. Okay. That's why they call her the Wall. Nobody gets by her. Nothing. And she's supposed to be scary, basically that person that they give you the look and you're like, yeah, whatever you want. I'm giving it up. And they just have not made her that scary in the live action stuff.
So there was a show that I really enjoyed called Prison Break, where they actually had, people from prison going out looking for these other psychopaths, and because they got into the minds of the psychopath, they were psychopaths. But it was having a storyline where you have somewhat Prison Break and meets more like the just them actually going through each character's psychology and using Harley Quinn as your basis of because she's a doctor, actually giving her that intelligence.
I think the first Suicide Squads that were not the military, because there was a Suicide Squad done in the 60s that was basically military people, and they would take on these really crazy missions. The first villain Suicide Squad was part of the Legends miniseries that basically gave us the JLA, the JLE, all of that whole aspect, Justice League. And that was where that first started. And it was, go out and do this, and we'll give you time off, etc. that you see. Yeah. And Captain Boomerang always figured prominently in all this until they killed him off. But they would use that as a way to kill off some of their second tier villains, that they can get rid of, because they're like, well, this guy has been missing in action for X number of years, and now we're going to let him out of prison. What are we going to do with this character? We can't have him reform. That just doesn't work. And so they came up with let's kill off some of these villains. We've got too many characters floating around. Yeah. But you look at the Squad, and the Squad is supposed to be basically Mission Impossible. Okay. Right. We're going to deny your existence. Okay. If you get caught. Okay. We're going to get he must have escaped. Throw him back in the slammer. Or if you die, it's like, yeah, he died because he tried to escape. Okay. So
honestly, they should get one of those guys who've been directing those Mission Impossibles to come and direct a Suicide Squad. I think.
Yeah, I think I'd love to see a John. I'd love to see a John Woo Suicide Squad.
Oh,
so many dubs.
But I think the problem with the Squad is they really had a lack of focus on that first film. They couldn't quite figure out where they wanted to go, and they made Harley too much the center of that.
Mhm.
When Harley should never have been part of the Suicide Squad, to be honest. If you looked back at the Squad, the original Squads and stuff, they were a lot of Flash villains. Okay.
Yeah.
And other aspects. If they had any of the Batman ones, they were the second or third tier Batman ones. Okay. You did not make the first, Harley there. And I think they're overusing Harley way too much, but
she's their cash cow right now, right?
She is. She is. Because what was it? Birds of Prey actually made money, even though I never saw it in the theater.
Birds of Prey was actually I liked the movie for what it was. There's a really great action scene, like really great fight scene in that movie.
Which one at the end?
In the garage.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And they did a really good job at just the use of all the little objects, like her throwing the hammer, and just the choreography of this fight scene is just fantastic. It's like Atomic Blonde.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Atomic Blonde to me was better than the Birds of Prey.
Yeah.
Birds of
that a Harley movie should be Atomic Blonde meets maybe like Tank Girl.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, if you're gonna do Birds of Prey, do Birds of Prey. Don't do Harley Quinn and the Birds of Prey.
I agree.
Okay?
Yeah.
Because I mean, the Birds of Prey, strong enough characters there. I mean, they did it back in the 90s and they kind of screwed it up in the TV show. But they could have done that entire film without Harley.
Absolutely. And
you're right. She is a cash cow. Okay.
Yeah.
She's the reason why they're doing this another Suicide, because I think of the new Suicide Squad is basically the third film in that series.
And they're trying to cash in on getting more females into the comic book foray, where I've always been a comic book nerd, right from the 80s.
Yeah. But
I will say that James Gunn hardly ever disappoints me. So I am pretty excited to see what he does with Suicide Squad. I think it'll be interesting.
Yeah.
I'm curious because they brought in some Charlton characters this time.
Yes.
I'm curious as to where they're going to go with that. I really hope they don't kill off Peacemaker.
I don't think Peacemaker's on the docket, but I do think that poor Nathan Fillion's what is he? Armless Man? What is his thing?
I don't know, but
he's dying.
Isn't it Shark King? Isn't it Stallone's voicing that?
It's Stallone, and he's voicing him as like a simpleton, like he's
yeah. So I think you're going to see Shark die. If not, but
oh man,
yeah. I mean, I didn't. I mean, I saw the trailer and I just went, yeah. I'm not really so far. The trailer doesn't impress me. It just looks like a standard hero film. I mean, are we going to get some in-depth aspects of these instead of it, or is it going to be all action all the time?
I don't know if that kind of film lends itself well when you're dealing with that kind of cast of characters to like in depth, right? Like,
well, you got to do something. You got to do something more than just throw them in and into an explosion.
Yeah, exactly. I like my issue is if you're introducing too many characters, like in Suicide Squad, they brought in way too many characters and they didn't utilize any of their actual traits.
I mean, granted, they in the first film they killed off Whiplash, wasn't it, or whatever the guy was.
He's an actor from Winnipeg. Yeah. He's an actor from Winnipeg, and we were all excited to see Adam Beach in this movie, and then he got killed. And
they killed him off almost right away.
His power was that he tied knots really well. You didn't think he was going to die right away? Like,
come on, it's like the shoveler. It's like a shoveler from Mystery Men, right? He shovels really well. Yeah. But I mean, that's kind of what I'm saying is that, it's like, okay, we have throwaway villains. you know. But you can still do character development in large ones. Look what they did with Guardians.
Yes.
You know,
No,
you got character development in that movie, you know, and that was an ensemble. I'm not going to say the Avengers because it took 3 or 4 films to do character development for those characters. But I mean,
and arguably they were done better in those films.
Yeah. But my point,
Avengers.
yeah. But my point is that you in ensemble films, you can do some character development. I'm not looking for, you know, the origin, you know, what caused their angst and whatever to do that. But you can do something where you can go, okay, I care about these characters. If you look at the characters and you go, I don't care if this guy lives or dies, then you have a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Or yeah. Or if like, and I'm going to drop a TV show here that you're going to care. But it's like when I was watching the remake of The Bionic Woman and I'm rooting for the villain, you know, you have a problem. Okay. And so that's kind of what happened. I felt within the Squadron. I was almost ready to start rooting for the Egyptian demigods, you know, sucking up the world, going, let's end the world.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, let's end the world. They're much more interesting than the Squad was.
Well, that plot line didn't make sense, right? Because it was just like, oh, we're bringing you guys together to deal with these supernatural threats. Oh wait,
and then
you have to deal with one of your own.
Yeah, yeah.
And also, like, that's probably the worst team I could imagine to deal with, like a Kryptonian level threat, which is an example
I agree.
they use in the movie.
Yeah. And now,
and we brought Deadshot. Okay.
Okay, so and who's the villain in this next one? They're bringing in a Justice League villain.
Yes, they're doing Storrow.
Yeah, I'm sorry, you don't do Storrow with the Squad. Okay, you just don't do Storrow. Okay, are we gonna see? I want to see the publicity picture with all the members of the Squad with a big old starfish on their face.
What an awesome poster that would be, wouldn't it?
Exactly.
Like, even if the movie sucks, like I think I would try my hardest to get that double sheet. Like I would want that poster framed up in my home.
Yeah, I mean, you know,
because I like plenty of bad movies. We'll make it work.
Yeah, but that's basically what you got with one of the covers of Justice League. Was basically the entire Justice League had the star on their face. Are we gonna get that sort of silliness, you know, from Squad?
I mean, it's James Gunn, so maybe.
I mean, it's a kaiju that we're facing, you know.
You know, I just think no one else probably had the balls to even pitch that. I imagine.
I think they allowed it. I think they allowed it because of the fact that it's James Gunn.
I mean, I'm almost positive he sat down and goes, "Okay, I need 3 things. I need Storrow. I need Stallone as a CGI shark." And you know what? I want to do the Suicide Squad. And they're like, okay, sure.
Yeah, why not? Guardians made how much millions for Marvel?
Yeah, exactly.
And Warner Brothers is going.
Best films.
Yeah, and Warner Brothers is probably looking at their watch and their bottom line. They're going, yeah, we need something big. You know?
Yeah, Aquaman was not that cash cow that they thought it was going to be.
Neither was Wonder Woman 84.
Ooh, yeah.
You know,
that one's a sore one. I wanted it to be so good, so bad.
Didn't we all?
I watched it. It was good for what it was, but you know what?
All right, I haven't seen it. I have a question. Okay.
Sure.
The complaint I heard was, unlike Atomic Blonde, there was hardly no 80s music running in the background.
Oh,
no,
yeah.
That's absolutely true.
You know what? I didn't think of that.
Except for a few jokes from Chris Pratt. No, Pine. Pine.
Yeah.
Except for a few jokes from him, I would not know that movie was in the 80s.
Like they did a really cheesy, you know, throwback to the 80s where, you know, they do like the fashion
shoulder pads and big hair. Okay,
right,
come on.
Right. That's pretty much.
They're getting Chris Pine to put on all these different outfits, and
oh,
it's like,
God, don't tell me he had a members only jacket on.
And so that was
a lot of windbreaking. But
yeah,
I think
that's what I heard.
The problem is that, like, while I think that what's the director's name? Patty Klein?
Yeah.
Is that right? Well, I think she's a great director. Both Wonder Woman movies are just aping the Christopher Reeve Superman movies. They're not really getting invested into the mythos of Wonder Woman.
Right.
We're talking about someone that has a full Greek pantheon of stuff. If you read the Brian Azzarello run,
go back and read the Perez Wolfman stuff.
Or the Perez Wolfman stuff, or Gail Simone's. Like, it's very
Morton.
Mythology.
Even the Morton stuff, going back to the 1940s, has Greek mythology. Huge on that.
Yeah, and she's not using any of that. Like, the things that really set Wonder Woman apart from the rest of them, she's not using in these movies. Instead, we get lots of cute little homages to, again, a Superman franchise from the 70s.
Or referencing or some references to Linda Carter.
Yeah, exactly. And which, by the way, talk about a cameo that I still don't understand.
Oh, she refused. She was offered, like you wouldn't believe. They offered big money to her to show up. Okay. And she refused.
No setup for this thing. It was just like, oh, hey, how's it going? And then, they kind of explain it as she was Wonder Woman as well at one point, and then she leaves. And I'm sitting there watching the whole thing like, I didn't drink anything for this, and I probably should have.
They talk about like the armor that used to belong to this one powerful being.
Yeah.
Right.
That's like the introduction to it, and you're like, okay, you're expecting somewhere around the movie for this powerful being to show up and be the hero, and then Wonder Woman wears it, and it's like, that's the armor.
Yeah.
That's what they chose for the armor.
Yeah.
To me, it didn't look like, it didn't give the Wonder Woman feel to the character.
My understanding about the behind the scenes aspect is there was lots of drama behind the scenes. And I'm not talking with the actors, I'm talking about with the director and the studios, is that she actually was not going to direct the second film. They had yanked her. And then there was a big brouhaha and they put her back in, is my understanding, as the director. And
okay.
Yeah, and it also felt, and from what everybody was saying, the movie felt like it felt like it was rushed. Like, we have to get it done quickly to get it to this release date.
And it's such a shame because that cast is a 1 in a million cast.
Oh, I know.
Pedro Pascal as a villain, sign me up every time. Maybe let him keep his mustache though. That was weird.
Did he play? He played Maxwell Lord.
Max Lord.
Oh man, but Max Lord is such a great slimy corporate guy from the 80s. He's such an 80s guy.
Here's what I love about Max Lord as far as what makes him such a good villain is that he wasn't. He was your friend.
He was.
He was kind of like schmarmy and kind of a douche, but he was part of the Justice League.
Yeah, he created the Justice League.
When it came to like Blue Beetle and Booster Gold, that was their friend. So when you see that betrayal in Infinite Crisis, to me, it does. That's worse than Anakin versus Obi-Wan for me.
Yeah.
But I'm just like, this is the worst thing that could possibly happen.
So it wasn't just me that felt like he was out of place in Wonder Woman. Okay.
Completely out of place. Like, just a rushed villain. You can't have a guy like that turn full heel.
Yeah.
It has to be a slow burn. It has to be a setup. You have to do a Kevin Feige thing.
Yeah. And I think that's the problem that the DC has, is it's run by the corporation of Warner Brothers and AT&T instead of having one person sort of do the puppet master aspect of it.
We're seeing like a bunch of people wanting to do all these throwbacks to the 80s and to our childhood, essentially. And it's just, I'm getting frustrated with just, okay, let's do a throwback to the 80s, but let's actually do it properly with,
I lived through the 80s. Okay. I graduated high school in 82. Okay. So for me, it was
the movies weren't that good in the 80s.
Well, you and I will have to. Willow, you and I are going to have to go into a back alleyway and have a discussion about this. But I mean, for the 80s though, is the 80s was big on music because of MTV and everything else. If you don't have a decent soundtrack if you're doing anything in the 80s, you got to have music. Okay, Atomic Blonde was perfect. on that. I mean, you just didn't get much better with the music. Okay.
Stranger Things.
Okay,
Huh? Stranger Things is a great example.
Yeah, Stranger Things.
We had a lot of great fan movies that made us fans come out in the 80s, but then we have, Mannequin.
Hey, I love that movie. Okay.
You know what? It was number 2 also.
Mannequin was great because it was cheesy. It didn't take itself seriously. Okay.
So nothing's gonna stop us now.
Yeah, okay. Exactly. And come on. The first time every boy fell in love with Kim Cattrall was in Mannequin. Okay. All right. But the point I'm getting at is you had music, you had fashion. Okay. Those are the 80s. Okay. Yeah, you had Reagan and you had some other stuff going on, and you had, some breakthrough with movies and stuff. But if you're doing anything with the 80s, you got to talk about fashion. You got to talk about music. Okay. I mean, just don't do the flock of seagull haircut every time you show somebody with the 80s. I'm sorry. That wasn't the defining 80s. The porn style hair that created the hole in the ozones. That was the 80s. Okay. The cheesy mustaches from the 70s were gone. Okay. They weren't there anymore. Double-breasted suits for the men with thin ties, shoulder pads on the women, hair the size of the Eiffel Tower. Okay.
Yeah.
Those mustaches are coming back now. Have you been?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to grow one of those. I had one back in that time. I've got pictures of me in the late 80s with that, and in the 90s I grew the sideburns. So
I am quite Hispanic, so I don't grow hair like right in the middle there. So
yeah,
I don't think I can really pull it off. I don't
know. You can do a good Gomez though.
Yeah, but
I probably
it's
could do a good Gomez.
But it's, those stashes were basically porn star mustaches.
Yeah.
Okay. But for the 80s, if you don't have those two things, you got to get the fashion right and you got to get music in your background of the 80s. Then just walk away because you're not doing an 80s film.
Yeah,
cartoons
exactly.
were great in the 80s though. Like the 80s and 90s were fantastic for cartoons. And
Saturday morning cartoons at 9:00 on Saturday morning. But the cartoons were great. The shows were great. Come on, Moonlighting was a defining mid 80s show.
Fantastic show.
Yeah,
and if you think about it, they still continue to use that format to this day.
Yeah,
look at Castle, Bones. It's just Moonlighting with fresh new paint.
Yeah, pretty much. You're right. And what happened? When did the show go downhill? Was when the two of them slept together.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
But I mean, you look at that. You look
at shows.
True. But you look at and that's the aspect is 80s film, 80s culture was heavily defined by culture. Okay.
Yes.
There was a lot of introspection during the 80s. In the 80s, you were looking back. People were trying to figure out where they were going with it. They couldn't figure it out at the beginning. You also had in the 80s the introduction of rap and hip hop.
Yeah.
Okay, that was in the later ones. But if you're doing in early 80s, you're doing shoulder pads and you're doing MTV, music. You're doing new wave music. You're doing Michael Jackson. I'm sorry, they got to pay the money to the Jackson estate to do Michael Jackson music because how big was Thriller in the early 80s?
Yeah.
Okay. You're also looking at things like where are the K cars? Okay, I'm sorry. People drove horrible cars. Where's the Pintos? Okay, I drove a Pinto in the 80s. Okay, where's the horrible Mustang 2? Another car that I drove that was horrible. Okay, these were not pretty cars. Okay, by today's standards, these were ugly cars. You gotta have the ugly cars. You can't have the person driving around.
My father-in-law is trying to reconnect with the K cars, and he found two of them.
Okay, my point is it wasn't pretty. We thought they were, but back then those were ugly cars, and you got to have people driving them.
They're great cars to drive around now.
We'll have to have that discussion later.
If they work properly.
Yeah. Again, and as somebody who lived in the 80s, I can tell you, do you want to know how many times I was on the side of the highway because my car died? Okay. AAA got their money's worth. I got my money's worth out of AAA, but you didn't have cell phones. What did you have? You had pay phones. Or if you broke down, going to your girlfriend's house and you broke down, you had to knock on somebody's door to borrow their phone. Okay. Yeah. Personal experience. Whenever
Joe's dad shows up to our place, driving the K car, and we have to go somewhere, Joe will be like, "No, we're taking the 66 because I refuse to be seen driving around in this car."
Yeah, but also the K car, though, you'd be pushing the K car down the road. Okay.
The seats are uncomfortable, he says.
Yeah. Okay. So I mean, this is what you're looking at with that. Okay, VCRs, no internet, no computers that people were using until the late 80s. Okay, and again, you don't see that in a lot of these 80s films. They don't mention a lot of this, that VCRs were taking off big time in the 80s. Okay, where's the blockbusters? Blockbusters really didn't show up until the late 80s. Okay, it was a lot of independent video stores.
Yeah.
Okay, you saw that, like you said, Omar, in Stranger Things. Stranger Things got the 80s right.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know,
one of my favorite things about it.
Yeah. I mean,
the horror movies that came out in the 80s was fantastic too.
Oh yeah.
That's where it all started.
Blob, I mean, now you're entering my world. This is my spot.
But that's where
movies.
Yeah, but that's where really the modern day horror really got started, was the 80s. Before the 80s of Halloween and Friday the 13th, it was Universal's Monsters was what horror was.
Yeah, I mean, that was the classics, right? That's what everyone kind of referred back to.
And then what do we get? Then we get the "it could be your neighbor" horror. Yeah. And that's, and that's what it came down to. A lot of them was, I mean, yeah, we got icons like Mike Myers and Freddy and Jason. But the whole point of all the other horror films was like Prom Night, okay, or some of the other ones. It's the janitor, or it's your neighbor who you trusted is actually the psycho killer.
Well, it's Scooby Doo, isn't it? Like, it's never really a stranger. It's the person you trust the most.
Yeah, and that's far scarier than Frankenstein's monster or Dracula or the Wolfman.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what made this. Now, granted, I think they went overboard on some of it, and it turned into violence porn in some of them.
I mean, eventually, things evolve, and not necessarily in a good way all the time. I mean, there's some appreciation for all that. I'm not a big fan of what's labeled the torture porn genre.
Yeah,
that came in the early 2000s. But I know plenty of people that are, and I understand their mentality, right? Like when Rob Zombie talks about horror movies, he talks about it so lovingly, like he loves, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre and that backwoods redneck thing.
Yeah.
He wanted to do a different spin on that. Well, I mean, he's got his fans.
I'm not disputing, and I'm not disputing the fans out there. I'm not disparaging them.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's not for me.
No, it's not for me either.
But that's what I love about horror, is that it can go into so many different branches.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm of the old school that it's they call it now suspense, where basically you don't know what's behind that door,
Right.
Yeah.
And that's the part that scares you more, is do I open that door and get the lady or the tiger?
Right.
Right. I grew up watching Child's Play, Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street.
Chucky.
I try, like, I'll watch I'll watch the Child's Play stuff that's coming out now, and like what was it? The last one was they did the remake. I haven't watched the remake yet.
Okay. I have just this for Omar. Meg Tilly. So we were talking Chucky. That's why I mentioned that.
Yeah.
But the last one I saw, they actually filmed it here in Winnipeg, was the Cult of Chucky, and I thought it was okay.
So now, Omar, here's the thing: is that there's a you age out of those, right? Like, the reason Child's Play is so effective is because when you see it as a child, you're like,
scary.
Holy shit, that's the worst thing that could possibly happen.
Yeah.
Like, what? My doll? And I had a My Buddy doll That thing was dead to me when my dad decided to rip that Band-Aid off and show me Child's Play. And it just doesn't have that effect anymore, right?
Well, they had that. They had kind of before Chucky. They had that reference in Poltergeist with the clown doll.
Yeah, with the clown.
Oh yes,
exactly. Same situation.
Oh yeah,
those
clowns
movies
are creepy now.
Less terrifying to you as you grow up. In the same way, like Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah.
As a teenager with anxiety, you're bound to get nightmares.
Yeah.
So what is that? So some freak who can come in through your dreams seems impossible to beat.
Yeah. It doesn't scare you in the when you're in your 30s or 40s or 50s because you're going, I can control that dream. That you want to come after me, Freddy, in your dreams? Let's do it and see who's gonna win this one. My dream,
I'm way scared than a janitor in a boiler room. I'm good.
Yeah,
it's that kind of thing. Now the ones that hold up to me are the ones about like isolation. The first Alien movie, John Carpenter's A Thing, which is a remake.
Yeah.
Those movies where you just feel completely alone against this entity, and you not knowing like where it's gonna come from.
I love that thing. That was great because the ending was so great.
Oh yeah.
You just the despair of that ending was just amazing, and it hadn't been done before, and that was also its strength.
And it's so cold, right?
Yeah.
Not just in its setting, but like the way it's filmed and shot. You're like, they are truly alone with no warmth out there.
Yeah,
they're screwed.
And also what I liked in there is that these guys when it came down to the monster doing whatever, and you find out these guys really don't like each other.
Yeah, exactly.
Really, it's because what do we got? We got all these other films where the kids are at the lake or whatever, and they all seem to like each other in one level or another. Whatever. Some are sleeping with each other, whatever. But in the thing, you find out when push comes to shove, they're just been being polite to each other to get the job done. And when you really need to rely on somebody, they can't stand each other.
Oh, and they turn on each other.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Stephen King's The Mist novella that
I will not watch that film.
Really?
Why not?
Because I have a daughter. And the ending is too hard for me.
Yeah. And that ending is actually different from the short story.
Oh, so I know that. I read that.
Yeah.
But it's still a powerful ending. It's a horror ending.
I think
that's more scary to me than the monsters.
It's a more horrifying ending.
Yeah, that's scarier to me than the monsters are.
Yeah, it's the unspeakable thing, right?
Yeah. Oh God.
Yeah.
So that Stephen King did it with The Mist, where everyone's stuck inside of this grocery store.
Yeah.
And they just start to turn on each other.
Mm-hmm. It's very Lord of the Flies.
Yeah.
It's very Lord of the Flies. It's very 2020. Yep. The mass hysteria that people can get all of a sudden when they're afraid and they just want to belong to something is a very real thing. And I honestly think people should be reading it now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to recommend to Willow something that, since we were talking Chucky, that the ultimate pre-Chucky film is you need to go watch a film called Trilogy of Terror.
Yes.
Oh.
Okay. The last, it's broken up into 3 parts, and the last part with Karen Black, I'm not going to ruin what it is. It made an impact on culture. This was a throwaway TV film, and then they did this last part of it. This 3-part of this. They broke the film into 3 sections. This last part just impacted everybody so much to say that from the 1970s, people are still talking about that. Would you say that's about right, Omar?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
So if you can find it, it's great. It's great.
Okay.
I mean, I saw it. I was in middle school. I caught this last part, and it made an impact. Okay, so. But anyway, hey, how are we doing on time, boss?
Yeah, we should probably
3-hour mark, right?
Yeah. Well, I guess we'll have to revisit our conversation at another time. But you guys, it's always fun talking to you guys, and I love being able to just let things go and see where the conversation goes. You guys are always fun for that. And Omar, take care of yourself. I love you, man. Can't wait for our next conversation. Jerome, you're what you do for Saturday morning cartoons and your new show, the
Classic Television Smackdown.
Thank you.
Which, by the way, is next week, and I should have a decision as to, it's my show next week. I should have a decision because I'm making a decision on one of two things. I'll have a decision by tonight as I do my research.
Excellent. Your research is phenomenal, and keep it up, dude, because I look forward to seeing what you guys come up with, and you guys got a strong team. I'm very lucky to have that team with me. They are really they're the best people I work with. They all bring really powerful stuff. Mark knows everybody. Rose brings an insight that is wonderful, and then she drags her daughter on, and I get that early 20 something insight from her, and it makes the whole thing really work well. And I'm sure you're instilling all your knowledge onto your daughter, so sooner or later I can't even get her to spend a half a second with me. She's an 8-year-old, man. She's got her own agenda. So, it'll come through once she's like more teenager, and yeah, she'll be the "I hate you, daddy." All her references will be from you. But no, it's always a blast with you guys. I'm gonna ring the bell. The new closing bell that I made. All right, you are fantastic. Omar, where can we find you?
Well, right now, working on a couple things. So the Creep Show podcast will be coming back on either tomorrow or Monday.
Excellent.
And then I'm also working on my novel. It's a fantasy novel called The Nothing Mancer. Very Monty Python-esque, very Pratchett-like. So be on the lookout. I'm getting quite far in that, actually. And then the other thing I'm doing is I'm working on a passion project. I want to do a radio show the same way the old Shadow ones were done. I want to do it on Will Eisner's The Spirit and give it kind of a my style of writing is very like Shane Black, Guy Ritchie-esque. So I'm trying to put together a group together. Once I'm done with the scripts, I'm going to start looking at actors and actresses to see if we can do at least a mini series of this, because I've been wanting to do The Spirit for so long. Make sure you get a super good Foley artist. Oh, that's a good idea. Yeah, because somebody's got to do those special effects sounds. Because every radio shows are great. I mean, look at what happened with War of the Worlds. Yeah, it was all because of the guys who can make those sounds. And if you can't get a decent Foley artist, your show, I hate to say, will suffer. You're absolutely right. Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, so I'm hoping for it. Like I said, I love the character of The Spirit, and I really hate that movie. So I was gonna say, the less said about the movie, the better. That's it. That's where I'm at.
Jerome, where can we find you on the internet? You can find me every Saturday morning on Saturday Morning Cartoons on the HWWS network. Every other week on Friday nights at 8 o'clock on the Classic Television Smackdown. Personally, you can find me on Twitter under I think it's Connor Hood 1707. I'm on Facebook. And somewhere out there in the ether, there's a MySpace page, which I don't even know if that still exists. But I can be found all over the place. Excellent. Same thing with me. So I'm the social media socialite. I'm pretty much everywhere. YouTube, Twitch, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. So yeah, please like us on Hang with Web Show TV. You can find us on YouTube as well. Please subscribe. We are reaching that beautiful milestone, and well, we've surpassed many milestones already, so I look forward to more subscribers. You guys are awesome. Thank you for doing all that,
and ring the bell.
You can buy our merch, and you know what, we'll be hanging out with each other again very soon. Have a good day.
Bye
guys.